1 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin and Matthew Rocchio. I'm Randy Carricker. Happy Hump Day, kids. How are we doing?
Oh, doing good.
You're fired up, aren't you, Randy?
I'm fired up. Oh, yeah.
What got you so fired up? Hump Day?
No, Jim Harbaugh, man. Jim Harbaugh interviewing with the Falcons. I mean, who do the Falcons think they are? Do you think all due respect, Anthony Stelter, I know you're listening, but the Falcons aren't a good organization. Why are these people interviewing with the Falcons? Just so that they can own a Home Depot or something?
You guys have to explain something to me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Jim Harbaugh is still the head coach of Michigan, right?
He is.
Yes.
Okay, so he is interviewed with the Chargers. He is interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm just trying to figure out if he's still the head coach of Michigan. And I know he did this the year before, and then he goes out and wins a national title.
Yeah.
So I guess the kids that are in the program are like, yeah, whatever. He leaves, so what? He stays. Yeah. I'm cool with it. It's all good.
That's exactly what they're thinking.
Okay, thank you.
They all know it's a business.
It is. This time feels real, though, right? That something's actually going to happen here. He's going to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
It feels like it's lining up to that. So he can just get away from that whole situation at Michigan, right off into the sunset and over to the NFL to try to compete against his brother now.
And now he knows what Atlanta is willing to offer with their money and their power. And he can go back to the Spanos family and say, okay, here's what I'm being offered in Atlanta, but I prefer to be in L.A. with Justin Herbert. So can you give me this deal, please?
Can they give him a quarterback? That's what I'd be asking.
Atlanta?
Yes.
No.
That's what I'm asking.
Those are
so
important,
then I'm going back to San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes sense. Isn't it slam dunk that he seems to be the perfect fit with the Chargers?
It does.
perfect.
I said
fit,
San
yeah.
Diego. L.A. is what I meant.
All right.
It's a bad habit, I guess. I got to get out of it.
It's a good habit.
I think a lot of people forget
It's
anyway.
a good habit.
Yeah.
If you're the Falcons in these interviews, you're like, can I interest you in an overdraft of Michael Penix Jr.? No? Oh, okay.
I'm good. I'm good. Give me Justin
He'd
Herbert.
take J.J. McCarthy over Penix.
I bet he would.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What else you got, Randall?
I got that the Billikens lost again last night.
Yeah,
They're
they
under
did.
500 now. 70-65 they lost to Dayton, which actually for them, losing by 5 at Dayton, that's a success. Duron Holmes pours in 25 second half points. It was the only flyer in double figures. So kudos to the Billiken defense.
Slow clap.
70-65. This is just not a great year. Not a particularly great year for our Billikens of St. Louis University. Meanwhile, Alabama hammered Missouri 93-75. And this was not great. This Aiden Shaw, Missouri player, gets shoved by one of the Alabama people.
Nate Oates.
Oh, their
Yes.
coach.
The
Their
head coach.
coach,
A head
yes.
coach can never, ever. I don't care if you're on the coaching staff, you're the head coach. You can't touch an opposing player, period. And if you do, you're out. It's that simple. These coaches are going crazy. I don't know how much college basketball you guys have watched here in the last month or so. Coaches are going bananas on the sidelines, which they always have done, but they're on the court more than they ever have been. You have Nate Oates touching a player last night. He should be ejected, at least a technical foul. It's terrible. You cannot touch an opposing player, period. It just never, ever should happen in a basketball game.
When he's fired at Ohio State.
That was a little different when he came out and just smoked a guy.
Yeah.
This
but
one was
still.
just kind of a subtle push.
It was. Well, and he was trying to say that he was breaking up the fight. But to me, if
No.
you go and look at the video, it was very intentional in the way that he just really shoved his chest out of the way and even did the little flick of his hand at the end that felt more disrespectful.
I thought Mizzou had a chance to win this game, but after the under-16 timeout, fans were told they could move closer down to the court, and it really did have an impact on the atmosphere in a positive way for Alabama. The last couple of games that they've had in the SEC have been winnable games. You had Georgia, you had South Carolina at home. They've got Florida now on Saturday. That's going to be a tough game. So tough road right now for both programs here in St. Louis. And I'm going to go back to SLU for just a moment. Do you guys think the heat has been turned up right now in Travis Ford?
Yes.
He
My
needs-
personal perception.
I think he needs to do better, but I don't know if the tools are in place. That's the one thing I don't know is what sort of commitment has been made by the administration to allow Travis Ford to succeed at a high level. Granted, they built the facility, and it's a great facility. But from an NIL standpoint, from paying assistant coaches, I don't know where SLU is. And this is a different environment than it was even 2 years ago.
And I don't know what the buyout might be with his contract, too, which would play into this, I would assume.
And what's the appetite of the administration of the boosters to pay another coach?
Yeah.
SLU has now lost 18 straight against ranked opponents. And they're having a tough year, and it's going to get tougher on Friday. They go on the road at VCU. Probably don't win that game. I mentioned this last week. Ken Palm has them at 12 wins for this season. I love Travis Ford. I know him very well, and having done the games for a number of years, enjoyed being around him. I just wonder what the temperature right now is on the seat of Travis Ford.
One thing that I would like to see is whether it's Chris May or Dr. Postello, somebody go to the Pacific Northwest and interview the president of Gonzaga when they got good. And say, what did you do? Because obviously, St. Louis, same size schools. They have virtually the identical number of students, both Catholic institutions, both with not great histories for Gonzaga until the last 20 years. I would try to find out what, and by the way, similar markets in terms of the basketball that is available to them. I would try to find out what Gonzaga did to become Gonzaga.
I wonder, too, and you mentioned that the O'Loughlin Center opened up for all the athletes, but let's be honest, it's basketball that drives that train down there, or, whatever, drives the bus. And if you have that kind of facility, you have Chaffetz Arena, which is a really good college basketball facility. How frustrated they are at this point, having done some of these things that I'm sure Travis was asking about and wanted to have happen. And so far, it's just not worked out here this year. And it's going to be a tougher go down the stretch for the Billikens for sure.
Well, the biggest thing is conference play, too, and how you compete in that. And if they aren't able to compete in that well, that's when the heat starts to turn up even more so. And I understand that they've had this huge changing of the guards when you look at their roster, right? You don't have Yuri Collins there now. You don't have even a Fred Thatch. You had Hassan French. It felt like they had kind of that veteran identity guy every single year. Javante Perkins. This year, nothing against Gibson Jimerson.
Big Gibby Jim.
Yeah, or Terrence Hartgrove Jr., but it's not the same this season of having that kind of identity player that we're used to seeing with the Billikens.
Do you see SLU winning on the road? Right now, they have one win away from home, and that was the neutral floor game against Wyoming. So, a lot of things just not pointing in the right direction for SLU here in this season.
No, it has been a rough go. Meanwhile, had an opportunity to head on over to the ballpark yesterday, and the Cardinals held their annual Red Ribbon Committee, Hall of Fame get-together. It was
You got some secrets for us? What do you got?
I have no secrets.
You can't say anything, can you?
Good to see everybody. If I had secrets, they'd be secrets. I can keep a secret.
You can keep a secret. Okay.
Yeah. So,
does everybody get a red ribbon?
We do. Yeah, we are all winners.
You had a good lunch, I bet.
A great lunch.
Yeah. But you can't talk about what happened behind closed doors.
Not even
you?
the lunch.
There is a lot of consternation. It was really interesting the other night at the writers' dinner. There was even somebody that booed Mr. DeWitt there. Yeah, when he was introduced. Come on, people.
Was it just one person?
Just a couple, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but just kind of weird.
Can I say something very fast? I bet, though, let's set the table here. You guys present cases for various individuals in Cardinals history. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been on the record with this. You've said it on the air a bunch of times. I would imagine you made a case for Dave Duncan.
Yes, I try to make a case
say that,
for Duncan
right?
every year.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the Cardinals would not have had their little mini, if you want to call it a dynasty, getting to 4 World Series. Let's just say 3, 06, 04, 06, 11. They wouldn't have been able to do that without Dave Duncan. And
sure.
You can go to all those NLCSs. He was
outstanding. He really was.
Jeff Weaver won Game 5 of a World Series for you. He clinched a World Series for you. And he did a lot of amazing things with pitchers here in St. Louis.
I always felt like he was ahead of analytics. You had the big book.
Yep.
And in that was kind of what you see as the precursor of what we enjoy if you do enjoy it, modern day analytics.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Dave Duncan deserves a red jacket.
Now, here's a question that popped up. Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more players? Is it unreasonable for fans to expect a larger financial risk by Cardinal ownership to get more expensive players on their roster. And Bill DeWitt Jr., the Cardinal chairman, was asked about that and about the payroll during the course of the winter warm-up over the holiday weekend.
The way the game is set up now, the big markets have an advantage in terms of revenue they generate, and they're taking advantage of that. So we're in a certain level of the market and try to do everything we can to compete with that, and of course the other teams that we play. But it's kind of the nature of the game. You compete the best way you can, and we've always felt that draft and develop is the Cardinal model, and it's played out pretty well for us over the years. So, we'll continue to do that, but pick our spots on free agents, and we feel like we can compete with anybody. I think we saw this last year where some of the higher priced payrolls didn't necessarily do that well. Baseball's an interesting game that way.
One thing I would say about taking their shots in free agency, that's really my biggest issue with the Cardinals. It's not how much they spend, but how they spend. The fact that, aside from Wilson Contreras, the other two biggest expenditures in free agency from the outside have been Mike Leake and Dexter Fowler. And this is a team that I know that they looked at the back end of the Johnny Peralta contract and said, okay, it's not going to be great. And it wasn't. But can they afford to be in a situation where they have a nearly $20 million player who's not performing well for them? Andrew Miller, Brett Cecil, you go down the line, there have been a lot of failures in free agency for the Cardinals. So that would be my only real beef complaint.
And that's the biggest thing, is that I think that that's the key there. Now, the expectations, I feel like, are a little bit different, possibly. Just kind of reading the room via social media of what fans think that they should be spending. But he's not wrong. If you looked at everything that happened with the Mets last year, even the Padres, spending a lot of money doesn't guarantee wins for you. It doesn't guarantee a championship. Even the Dodgers, the fact that they spent that much money last year, they always spend a lot of money, but it didn't guarantee them a trip all the way to the World Series, did it? No, and that's just the way that it works out sometimes. Right now, they are at roughly around $177 million when it comes to payroll. They set that goal of possibly, or a threshold of $200 million. They haven't hit that just yet, so they still have some wiggle room if they're still shopping around for a reliever or something like that. But I do think, and I appreciate him being realistic about where they're at in terms of spending. Now, is that something that lands well with the fan base?
They have, and he's correct, they have drafted and developed very well. Now, have they evaluated the talent once it's gotten there very well? And I think the answer at this point in recent history would be no.
No.
I mean, with some of these players that have gotten away, if you still had Alcantara, if you still had Adolis Garcia, if you still had Randy Arozarena, then you're not talking about going out and signing some of the free agents that maybe have not been successful at times here in St. Louis. So when you bring in a Chaim Bloom and you bring in an outside voice, if you will, and his fingerprints are all over some of the guys that they're bringing in right now. It's a different set of eyeballs to try to help them.
And you need to develop, and hopefully Walker will be an MVP. Dodgers developed Bellinger. The Braves developed Acuna. It looks like Corbin Carroll is on his way to being that sort of a player with Arizona. And the Cardinals, the Red Sox, Mookie Betts, the Cardinals have not developed that sort of a player. So that's something we'll talk about as this show unfolds. Coming up, though, it is Hump Day here on 101 ESPN and in St. Louis and in the United States of America, and it's kind of cold here, but you might have it warm wherever you are. But if you have a question about life in general, Uncle Dan is here.
No, I'm not. I want to jump in and ask some questions to Uncle Randy. I'm just cousin Dan.
If you have a question.
What are you, Brooke?
Life in general.
I don't know. I guess I'm aunt or cousin.
Your aunt. She has answers for us. 314-399-9646. 314-399.
Yo-ho.
314-399-9646. 314-399.
That's the, okay.
Give us a little yo-ho. A little tiny yo-ho.
Yo-ho.
There we go.
There you go.
Ask Uncle Randy is next on 101 ESPN.
Oh.
Hey, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, I'd love to have you visit autoloanpro.com. And I talked to you a lot about how if you're buying a new car, it's a great idea to get the best payment that you can have, the best interest rate that you can get from Auto Loan Pro. But if you're in the market for a new vehicle, if you go to the Auto Loan Pro website, autoloanpro.com, just click on the Cars tab and you can get yourself an Acura or a Honda, or they have vehicles under $10,000. And that's especially important if you've been put in a bad circumstance. If the pandemic has cost you to not have as much money in your pocket as you are used to having, and maybe you missed a payment or two, the Auto Loan Pro folks are going to take care of you with little to no money down. They're going to work really hard to get you the best rate possible, and they're going to make sure that you get what you need, and that is a vehicle to get to work. If you're financing a car, there's only one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro. They're going to take care of you, working with over 50 lenders to get you the best rate possible. The website, autoloanpro.com.
Uncle Randy, let him dive into his infinite well filled with wisdom to find you answers. Text 314-399-9646. It's Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN.
I've been around, you know.
I have. Uncle Randy's been around. He can help you out.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
I am. So send us your text, and we'd love to hear from you with any Ask Uncle Randy question that you might have on this beautiful Wednesday morning in St. Louis, January 17th, 2024. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're doing well on the the Air Alliance Team Studio Cam. Just go to YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Type in 101 ESPN STL, and please subscribe to our channel. And you can watch the show. Everybody's very happy here. Everybody's very excited for Ask Uncle Randy. Here we go.
I enjoy Uncle Randy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Is this your alter ego, you think? Or, I mean, what is this? This is you.
Yeah,
This is him all the time, I feel like.
Yeah.
Off the air.
You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Danny seemed to be champing at the bit a little bit with his own question. Do you want to lead off?
No,
Ask Uncle Randy,
no,
or
no,
should we
no.
hit the text line?
I'm not chomping on the bit just yet. I'll follow up on some of these that we have.
Okay.
All right, this is an oldie. We get this one a lot, the general oeuvre, if you will, but I like this question.
Okay.
Uncle Randy, my girlfriend and I got engaged middle of December. With that said, we have our wedding date planned for late November 2024. It's been pretty stressful and at times a bit crazy with the planning, and my fiance's mom wanting to try and take control over things that we should be making decisions on. What's a way we can make sure she knows we need to make those final decisions in a way to keep these times less stressful as possible?
Okay. This is your wife's job.
Oh, dang.
This is your fiance's job. But if her mom, there's a couple of points to go here, because many times it's the bride's parents that pay for the wedding, and you have to give them a little entree into making them think that they're helping plan. But the other part of it is, and this is not harsh, but what your fiance has to do, perhaps through Uncle Randy's recommendation, is go to her mom and say, Mom, I'm glad that you and Dad got married, and I hope you had a wonderful wedding that you got an opportunity to plan. This is my wedding, and as much as I really appreciate the fact that you're trying to help us out here, we kind of want to plan it ourselves.
No, that ain't going to work.
Well, we love
That ain't
you,
gonna work.
and we appreciate, I think it can, but it's got to be the
I've been
offspring.
around, you know.
It's got to be the offspring. But like I said, you have to give, especially if they're paying, you have to give her a little bit of entree into believing that it's her idea. But no, you can't. She'll know if her daughter tells her you're being a little bit overbearing. She'll understand. I promise.
Not a chance.
Hopefully. That's always the biggest thing, right? In the middle of wedding planning myself, and I understand all of the stress that comes with it, it feels like things just continue to pop up over and over again, things that you didn't even think about were a possibility. So I understand it, and it sounds like maybe he already has some history of this where he would know that maybe she oversteps her boundaries a little bit. It does have to be up to her daughter to be able to set those firm boundaries and mean it. And also, if you could have at least like a day of coordinator or something like that, or maybe even talk to somebody else who has experience with planning, that kind of can set those ground rules and expectations too. If your daughter,
Great idea.
If your wife, soon to be wife, is a little bit concerned about that.
Great idea, Brooke. Thanks for that advice.
It's really simple.
Yeah, Brooke.
I think you guys are missing it.
What?
You say it's your fiance and the fiance's mom. You guys handle it. I'm just on board, and I'm happy to be here. Love you both, and whatever you guys say, I'm in.
Oh, you can do that as the guy.
Yeah, that's
As the
what I'm
guy,
talking
yeah.
about.
I don't think that the fiance wants that. That's the issue
Oh,
here.
I thought it was the fiance's.
Mom.
It is
Yes,
the fiance.
it is the
control.
fiance's
Yeah,
mom.
it is the future wife's mother. And
Yeah.
the texter, I believe, is the groom, future groom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just leave it up to them. Just
Clearly.
go along
Let
with
him
it.
duke it out if it gets bad,
Yeah.
you know?
And yes, the groom doesn't care.
Maybe he does.
He does.
Maybe a little.
Mine
maybe,
does a
maybe
pretty good
little.
job of
Does
getting
he?
involved with everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Dear Uncle Randy, I coach an 11 under baseball team. They are not very motivated or excited to play. What can I do to get them to want to be the best version of themselves?
The key, and Danny has dealt with this a lot with the young people, the key is to try to get them to have fun. And you know what? For some kids, it's the orange slices at the end of the game. We're going
Yep.
to get ice cream at the end of the game. Not everybody is going to be passionate about wanting to win baseball games at the age of 11. You just roll with it and let them try to make it fun and teach them the fundamentals of the game, and don't worry about winning and losing games. Never light up a cigar after they win, and just try to allow them to have fun. Your main job is to not be too intense, and when they're 11 years old and they make a baseball mistake, you say, here's how we do this. I know you're trying hard, but here's how we do this. And just try to teach the fundamentals. Kind of like, well, forget it.
I would say, and I know where you're going with that too. Just the Cardinals, a little fundamental baseball.
Always a good
where
thing.
you're going with this.
Yeah.
I would say to them, do you realize how lucky you are to walk, throw, run, and play? There are a lot of kids that can't do that.
Oh, Kenny Yamaguchi.
I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I'm
backyard
serious
baseball.
about that. So
He was really good, too.
don't take it for granted. Go out and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm also with you that coaches go crazy. I saw in a soccer game this weekend, I saw a coach grab a kid and scream at him.
Unacceptable.
God.
It's unacceptable.
What age?
These were teenagers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Not
Teenagers. Nope.
Wow.
Not great at all.
So it might frustrate you to have the 11-year-olds that are motivated. But you know what? I'll tell you, none of these kids are playing Major League Baseball. So you have fun with it.
It's no truer statement.
Are you
has been
saying like
said.
one day they will, right?
No.
They all will accomplish it, right?
Well, you can tell them, hey, if that's your dream, you go for it. Don't kill a dream, but the reality is it probably ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your swing playing at?
Well,
You're not
here's the
making
thing.
it to the majors, everybody.
If they aren't motivated to play baseball at 11 years old right now, they aren't playing in the majors.
And I would agree with that,
That's
too.
a really good point.
Yeah.
Dear Uncle Randy, what is the acceptable amount of time to spend checking your phone on the toilet at work? P.S. This message was sent from the commode.
I'm going to go
45 minutes.
10 minutes. I'm 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yep. Yeah, that's the max.
That's the
Yeah,
that's
10
the max.
Max out at 10 minutes, yeah.
What kind of job are you working?
10 minutes. That's a long time
I know
to be
it
on
is.
the toilet.
That's why it's the max. But nobody knows you're in there. So you just go in.
What is an acceptable time?
Acceptable time? Don't take your phone in with you. Do the 60 seconds and get the hell out of there.
60 seconds.
60
Wow.
seconds, yeah.
You're setting some strict ground rules. If Randy was the boss, he would be right over by
Oh,
the bathroom
yeah.
saying, all right,
Oh,
time's up.
I just maxed them out at 10. I said they can go 10.
What about a commercial break in radio?
3 minutes?
Yeah, you got to do your business and get back.
Yeah, right. But no, if you're working a real job And now you've taken your phone in with you. So this is a thing. You're texting and stuff, right? So it's different. So 10 minutes.
Boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I go on company time.
Bingo. There you go, Matthew.
right.
Well done.
The guy on Red Zone is my hero.
Scott Hansen?
The way that he does
he's
it,
unbelievable.
He's great, but he doesn't miss a beat, man.
No.
I guess
He's a good guest. He's a fun guest. We should get him sometime.
I was thinking about, like, when does he go to the bathroom? And then I noticed in the final weekend, they just put the sound up of a few games and then cut back and forth. And there was nothing like, hey, we're going to Cleveland and Joe Flacco is inside the 20. There was none of that. It was just Joe Flacco was inside the 20.
Oh.
With the sound up, you're hearing the announcers and... that's what they did. I'm assuming he had a bathroom break. That would be my guess.
I feel like he never gets a break. It
That's what
really
I'm
does
saying.
feel like that.
There was a time where there was alarms going off in their studio in week 14 or something like that, and the absolute panic on his face that he was going to have to leave the studio for more than 2 minutes was apparent. He was like, I don't want to leave.
He's
I'm
awesome.
not going.
Yeah,
I think
great.
he does a hell of a job.
One time we had a tornado warning here, and I wouldn't. I was forced to leave the studio. I didn't want to, and everybody, the stairwell that you guys, we all come up because our elevator doesn't work. But
That's good for you to walk the steps for your heart.
It is. It is
It's good.
So anyway, they made us go into the stairwell with the tornado warning. I was ready to go down with the ship, but I was going to keep talking. I was going to go wall to wall, but they wouldn't let me. Our HR person at the time, Amanda, said, "Nope, you got to leave." So I left, and I was unlike I was like the Titanic guy. I left.
So what'd they put on the air?
I think we'd put on ESPN. I'm not sure.
You have to watch out for yourself too, Randy. You have to protect yourself as well.
I wanted to take care of the awesome listenership of St. Louis and beyond.
Wow.
I don't know if I could get through a morning without you.
Mayor of St. Louis.
I got out of jury duty one time doing that.
There you go.
I went to the judge, and I said, he said, why can't you do jury duty? And I said, because St. Louis needs me.
St. Louis needs me.
Like Batman.
I got out.
Did you get through that with a straight face?
I did.
You
Should've done
turned
the
into the
Batman
Ron
voice.
Burgundy of radio.
I have many leather-bound books.
And he let me out. It was great.
One last one. Dear Uncle Randy, my wife and I gave birth to our first child 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
She gave birth. My wife has been a rock star throughout this time, especially since I returned to work at the start of the year. What are some great date recommendations I can do to show my appreciation for her while the little man is with the grandparents?
Oh, that's good. I would suggest that you take her to her favorite restaurant. I think that's very important. And do something relaxing. If you haven't been to a movie in a long time, I know a lot of people still have not been back to a theater. Find a movie that you can both watch. And I think just going on the old classic date is a great idea at this time of year when it's so cold outside. And it's great that you have the grandparents there to watch the youngster. But yeah, I would just go classic on this.
Was Joan, your lovely wife, going back to the previous Uncle Randy question, was she like, no, Randy, you need to be behind the mic. If that thing goes down, well, it goes down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
Thanks, Randy. It was for all the times, and good job on the air today.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Just a quick double check on the policy. All right, we're all good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take her down, Randy.
That's Ask Uncle Randy. Thank you very much for your text. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we talked earlier about the expectations of you for the Cardinals in terms of spending money. So knowing that the Cardinals are a mid-market team, that they don't make the kind of money that the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cubs do, what are your expectations for the Cardinals in terms of expenditures on their payroll? Do you expect them to be number 1 or 2? Do you expect them to be where they are right now, roughly number 10? What's your expectation? And will it make any difference? That's the key. That's coming up here on 101 ESPN. Get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Plus, we have the line open if you'd like to send us a mic drop with the 101 ESPN app here on the opening drive. Well, you know how much I love the trashed wings at Fenton Bar and Grill. They're the best wings in town, in my opinion, and thousands of people, millions of people love them. If you want some perfect wings for your big game party, that would be the game where the AFC plays the NFC for the trophy. But we can't say it on the air during a commercial. But if you want wings for that game, order them now from the Fenton Bar and Grill, and you'll be able to pick them up on game day, and you will have an absolutely spectacular feast. And if you want to try them out, if you've never tried the best trash wings in St. Louis, head on over to the Fenton Bar and Grill today. It's on Rudder Road in Fenton, and the trash wings are unbelievable. They have their signature award-winning golden sauce, and that's great. You can have them with some ranch, and if you stop by today, you're going to be served by some of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. Alicia will be there behind the bar. You'll also meet Megan and Kelly and Colleen and the entire crew. Ashley might be there today. And when you get served, you're going to be served with a smile and with great food and just a great time. And you're going to be talking sports with the folks at the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road. Learn more at FentonBarandGrill.com. And when you go, tell them Randy sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Yesterday, we had some local college basketball. Neither game went too well as Dayton beats up on St. Louis 70-65. Deron Holmes poured in 25 second-half points to come back from a first-half deficit for the Flyers, and Alabama all over Missouri 93-75. Blues not in action today. One more day until they face off against the Capitals Thursday evening. 6 p.m. puck drop. You can catch the pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues starting at 5 p.m. If you do want to hear some Blues talk, though, coming up here on the opening drive at 8:15, Jamie Rivers joins Randy, Brooke, and Danny. And coming up at 8:45, St. Louis Blues All-Star Center, Robert Thomas joins the show. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
We've got a pretty darn good market and bigger than obviously what the city of St. Louis is, because we've got a broad fan base. And one of the disappointing things as time has gone on is we've lost subscribers. And that's not just the money from the subscribers, but it's, potential loss of ability to follow the team. So, this is a big project for us.
That's Bill DeWitt Jr. talking about what might happen with television upon the demise of Bally. And there was a court proceeding and a court filing that was revealed by either the Athletic or Sports Business Journal that said that Bally was preparing to wind down by the end of September and that Bally would cease to exist. And the money generated by Major League Baseball for television was going to have to come from a different entity. So, yes, in terms of market size, that does put the Cardinals in a less enviable position than when they had Bally, because now when you're having to sell yourself based on market size and the number of viewers you have, you're not going to be able to make as much money. And I think we can all trace this back to one thing. The reason that baseball is in the shape that it's in, the reason that we had the situation the other night where people were complaining about the Chiefs game being on Peacock. This all goes back to the people that didn't want to pay a premium for a product. It's all the fault of the cord cutters.
It's all the fault of the cord cutters,
Yep.
But that's the way that it's going, Randy.
But it didn't have to, did it? It was people that wanted something for nothing. And that's the problem. It's if you don't want to pay for a premium product, there's a chance that product isn't going to be premium anymore.
Don't you remember how appealing it was at the beginning whenever it was like, oh, wait, I can just pay like $9 for Netflix? Yeah, I'm going to get away from this whole cable TV thing because cable prices were getting up to like $200, if not more. It felt like all of a sudden you would get a surprise bill every once in a while. So you could also put it back on cable for really getting greedy in a lot of different ways where it was easy for people to get over to streaming.
Well, but that's the thing now, because streaming now costs as much as if you get all of the entities, it's going to cost as much as cable does.
I thought it was really interesting about what he said when fans can't see the product. And I agree with him. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And if you're not watching the games and you don't know the promotions that are coming up to the ballpark that maybe that your kids want to go to, you're not going to spend the time to go out and buy your tickets and come in. I can't remember the exact percentage of what this is, but it's generally this percentage, like 60% to 70% of fans on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday are outside a 60-mile radius that come in. So it's not just the St. Louis Cardinals. It's very regionally based. I think fans need to understand that they are I think they're 10th right now in payroll. That could change with certain teams now with a lot of free agents still out there and loading up. I would anticipate like the Cubs spending some money here before we get to spring training. But I think fans wanted to see like a Max Scherzer, go out on a limb, take that chance, or a Bryce Harper, and it would lessen the blow of what we always talk about, which is, does payroll actually mean that you're going to win games? And the answer is no. As you mentioned, Brooke, there are some teams that have spent a lot of money and they don't have the results for it. But I do think that they wish, the fans do, that the Cardinals would go out on a limb every once in a while and maybe, quote unquote, overpay or take a chance on that superstar.
Yep. We've got texts and mic drops. What are your expectations for the Cardinals from a payroll perspective? And Brooke, you had a couple of those.
Yeah, because going into what we were talking about payroll, and I mentioned this earlier, this person is talking about when I was talking about that they spent or have spent right now around that $177 million. From the 636, they say, problem is, Mozeliak says our threshold this year will be around $200 million. Brooke just said that we're at 179, 177. But DeWitt last week just said they're not adding any more money. Cardinals had Gray take a payout this year of paying him $10 million and backloading it. But we are not signing any more guys, according to DeWitt.
And I think one of the problems that you run into is we just look at the major league cash outlay.
Yes.
We don't look at the entire 40-man roster. We don't look at benefits. Baseball looks at it differently than we do in terms of what their payroll is, which makes sense because the payroll here at 101 ESPN isn't just what people are making, but you add in benefits and you add in the ancillary expenses. And so everything is thrown in, not everything, but much is thrown into that bucket in terms of payroll expenditure, not just the particular salary of a player.
So if you're 10th in payroll, where else do you want to go? Do you want to be top 5? Is that reasonable with the surrounding fan base that they have, even though a lot of these fans cannot access the games? Do you want the Cardinals to take this thing in-house, television-wise, charge you that way? I don't know what the right answer is. I think, though, the main problem is that there's just not enough eyeballs on what is now a regional sport. It's not a national sport. It's not your national pastime. I hate saying that, but it's not.
Well,
football is.
That is the fault of the Major League Baseball front office on Park Avenue, because they could very easily remove all the restrictions for people in Iowa that can't see the Cardinals and the Cubs. It's really easy to lift all those ridiculous blackouts that they have, but they don't do it.
They went in contract with people that wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yeah, right.
That's the part of it that they made this very tough to do. And I'm with you. I mean, you should be able to pick up your phone and access any game that you want. I have the MLB package, and there's times that I cannot access the Cardinal games.
It's crazy.
And there's nothing more frustrating than that, right? It's like, what am I paying for here? Why is that? It shouldn't be that way whatsoever, and that's something that I hope that gets addressed. From the 314 we have, I don't care how much they spend. They need to spend in the right guys. You need to draft and develop, but go get that guy that will be willing to pay what it takes to bring that missing piece of the puzzle. Bryce Harper was a prime example a few years back.
I wanted Harper, by the way. I thought he'd be the perfect Cardinal. That would have been fun to see him in St. Louis.
Yeah.
People would have just loved him.
And that's one thing the Cardinals are really reticent to do, is give out those 10 or 13-year contracts. And yes, Harper is fun right now, but
you're right. Tail end can be ugly.
Yeah. And
Yep.
If you're a franchise that has a budget, do you want to be spending $28 million? It's kind of like the Jacoby Ellsbury thing. Do you want to be spending $28 million a year for the last 5 or 6 years of a contract for a player that's not going to be productive for you?
Christian Yelich in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Good player.
Yep.
Had a great year, couple great years, and right now that contract and his performance has not lived up to what you're paying him, and they're hamstrung by it.
Yep.
I mean, look at what they're doing this year.
The Stanton contract that the Yankees picked up. There are very few of those 10-year deals, if any, that have worked out for the team that actually signed the player. A-Rod to the Rangers. Rangers couldn't afford to keep him. They have to trade him.
Albert Steele here worked.
Yeah, and that was 7.
Yep.
But the 10-year deals, the back end of those 10-year deals, and look at what's happening with Mike Trout right now. And it'll happen with Ohtani. It's just not feasible to have players playing well or getting better at the age of 35, 36, 37. Right
Not
now.
in this era, not with the steroid era
Yeah.
come and gone. I guess, though, if you're a franchise that is like the Yankees, like Chicago, like L.A., you don't really worry about the back end of those deals because you can swallow that money anyway.
Yeah, right.
You know, you can take that hit and it's okay.
100%. I mean, you would all take, if you knew, okay, maybe 1 year out of that 10-year contract, you could get a championship, which I know nothing is ever guaranteed, but knowing that, you could take the beginning of that and enjoy it, understanding that the back end won't look as pretty. But if you get the best of that front end of it, I think a lot of people are willing to pay for that.
Always.
The 3-1. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
It doesn't matter how much you spend. If you get one world championship out of it, it's worth it.
Seems like the Blues and Cardinals would make a lot more money having their own STL network. Throw in soccer seems easy. Soccer's wrapped up with a national TV deal, if you want to call it that, with Apple TV. So that's not going to happen. That's a long-term agreement. I do think, though, there could be some kind of synergy between the two. Don't you guys think that? I mean, it makes some sense.
Right.
You got to have a partner with this, it would seem.
And that's what the Blues need in this situation.
Yes, they
as
do.
well.
And baseball and MLB Network and NHL Network are under literally the same roof in Secaucus, New Jersey. Maybe both sports get together.
Thought about that a lot.
That would be really smart.
Yeah, because they're under the same roof.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. Alexa worked for both MLB Network and NHL Network, and there's a lot of people that still do. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. We've got Take It or Leave It next on 101 ESPN. I can't tell you how much better I feel because of mentality. You know, guys, as we pass our 30th birthday, our energy level decreases. And we tend to think, okay, well, I'm just getting older, and that's why. And you don't get through the workout like you used to. You aren't able to just get through a day like you used to without coming home and crashing. Well, at Mentality, they have an FDA-approved testosterone treatment because that loss of energy is related to a loss of testosterone. And with their treatment, they'll restore your testosterone level and your energy level with an FDA-approved treatment. You're going to come in, their board-certified physicians are going to do a complete panel on your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is, and then you'll come in every week and you'll get that treatment, and it does wonders for you. And they're going to work with your insurance company to have as little out-of-pocket expense as possible for you. So if you're dealing with low energy, low motivation, maybe decreased sharpness and acuity, get to Mentality in Chesterfield and in South County. Make an appointment today at lowtusa.com and be the guy that you want to be with Mentality.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
With Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Matthew Rocchio, I'm Randy Carricker. It's time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. Kids, I don't know if you noticed, but we have a sign next to our elevator that says elevator out of service. It's been that way since before Christmas. Now, I come up from the basement, so I walk 50 steps, which I'm happy to do. And you guys generally come in on the main floor, right?
Yeah.
So take it or leave it. When you walk in, the first day you walk in and that sign isn't there, you're going to have the guts to get on that elevator.
Oh, I'm going to be ready to go. I've been waiting every single morning. Every single morning. And I love to work out. The Stairmaster is one of my favorite machines at the gym. But still, if that elevator is there, I'm going to take it. And every single morning, I hope it's the day. And I'm always sad when it's not.
Me too.
I'm going to leave it. I like taking the stairs. As I said before in the break, I said take it or leave it. My knees are that of a 75-year-old man, and they feel that way. So even though it makes sense to take the elevator, I do like to just try to stretch them out a little bit. So I'm going to going to the route of walking the stairs.
You're so much better than us, Dan. We're taking the easy way out.
No, I'm not.
I'm totally rolling the dice and gambling that I won't get stuck in that elevator. I'm absolutely with you, Brooke. I'm taking the elevator.
Did somebody get stuck or what?
Well, we've had multiple people get stuck, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And then there's been recently, it's been out since before Christmas, there was a motor that was broken that had to be rebuilt, but they're getting it fixed. And eventually, I would guess by 2025, that elevator will be back in service.
I was thinking about that one day because this was prior to it breaking. It was a little bit slow, and it was taking, for whatever reason, it was just acting weird. And I was like, am I really going to get stuck in here? Mm-hmm. And I need to go on the show. What would I even do in this situation? Just call in and be like, hey, guys, live from the elevator.
From the elevator, right.
Elevator updates.
There you go.
Yep.
We need to get some branding for that. Take it or leave it. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Bill Belichick is seeking to coach a talented but underachieving team. Take it or leave it. There's plenty of teams that really fit in that category, but why does that kind of sound like the Cowboys?
I will.
It doesn't kind of. It sounds like the Cowboys.
Does.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I will take that too.
He will probably give up some of what he desires in terms of power and in terms of letting things out of the building so that he can coach a talented but underachieving Cowboys team.
Okay, if it does happen, I want like Hard Knocks there just to follow behind the season.
Take it.
I need to see that, right?
Take it or leave it. After Shohei Ohtani signed for over $700 million, Mason Wynn said, pitching and playing shortstop ain't a bad thing to do both.
I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that.
I thought when he signed, the first guy I thought of was Mason Wynn. I really did. I mean, if these guys have dual roles, and we're starting to see that a little bit more in the minor leagues, why not let him at least explore it if things don't work out at short? Now, I don't want him on the mound blowing out his arm, but if things don't work out and he can't make it as a shortstop, which by all accounts I think he will, but things happen, stranger things happen, he gets back on the mound and says, you know what, I'm going to have to give this a try too if I want to stay in the game.
103 miles an hour across the diamond.
Yeah.
Why not have him be your closer?
I just guess they don't want him to blow out his arm, and they think he's a great athlete and is going to be a premier defensive player, so that's why you don't put him on the mound.
I would.
When is the last time that he has pitched?
He pitched low A ball, and it was very sparingly. It wasn't much.
I want to say they pulled back in
3 years ago.
2019. I was going to say 2019 or 2020. I remember just being bummed when I saw the reports. It's like, yeah, they're only going to have him do shortstop stuff. That broke my heart because I was like, no, you have a potential guy who can do it. At least give him till like AA or AAA just to see how it works out.
Now, guys throw hard. There are a lot of guys that throw hard, but if you can't move it and it's straight, I don't care if you're throwing 200 miles an hour. They will hit it at this level. So there's other things that you have to do to be able to get people out, and you don't need a blown elbow out with your starting shortstop. So I get that, but if I'm Mason Wynn, I still have my eyes on potentially being a dual threat. At least I would.
He only pitched 1 inning in minor league baseball.
Yeah, that's right. They let him do a little things on the side, but it wasn't much in competitive areas of the game.
Had a strikeout, by the way.
Yes, he did.
Oh, there you go.
So he's got swing and miss stuff.
Well, if a game
averages a K per inning, but
so will we see him possibly this season, where we saw Alec Burleson, we've seen Yadier Molina
not
before?
A chance.
No,
not
you
a
don't
chance.
Think
you might care about him too much.
That's why you put Alec Burleson, and that's why you put the backup guys. Yeah. If they get hurt, they get hurt, you know.
Yeah. What do you got on the text line there, Matthew?
And for the possibility of a bobblehead later on. Take it or leave it. Edmonds' injury is why the Dylan Cease trade has not happened yet.
I'm going to leave that.
I'm going to leave it too. I think that there was a little bit more, maybe even a Nolan Gorman. I think it's very clear they would want something like that. Nothing against Tommy Edman, but obviously younger, and he provides a lot of power. So I think that that's what the White Sox would be looking for.
I'm sure when the Cardinals were involved in trade talks with some of the top people, the first name that was mentioned is Nolan Gorman.
Yes.
And they're not going to give up on him. Another name that was probably mentioned is Brendan Donovan, and he's emerging as a leader on this team. Give him a chance to play every day. Give him 500-plus at-bats and see what he can do. He gives you a great at-bat, and he's left-handed, a left-handed batter. So that's what teams want. They want young, cost-controlled position players that hit from the left side. And if they can get them, they're going to try to get them. Matthew?
The one thing I did hear when Gorman broke down, sorry, ESPN just had a breaking news story. Amazon to invest in Diamond Sports as part of bankruptcy deal.
Wow.
So that's going to matter. So
yeah,
we're going to have to dive into that at some point because that's going to change things.
Turned it down.
Yeah, that's what I thought
baseball
too.
said you can't do it.
Wasn't $150 million, I think, from Amazon?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're going to do this, I guess, against the wishes of Major League Baseball. Interesting.
We shall see. Matthew, another take it or leave it.
Yes, sir. Take it or leave it. The Blues will consider trading Justin Falk and or Brandon Saad at the deadline.
I'll take that.
I'll take that too.
Or Brandon Saad. Yeah, I will take that as well.
Take it or leave it. Another team will consider trading for Brandon Saad at the deadline.
I was just going to say, takes two to tango.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Would you
You're
trade
saying
for
that
him?
people aren't clamoring
If
for...
you're trying to win a cup, Heart of Hearts, are you going to trade for him?
I had a bad thought yesterday of just thinking about what it would have been like. And this is nothing against Torrey Krug. He has every right to invoke his no-trade clause. I completely understand that. But I was just thinking about what that would have looked like this season had that trade worked out. When they were
Torrey
trying to move
Krug's
him.
had a tough go. There are times like the other night where he just did not look good. He had a couple giveaways that led to goals. It's just, I think when you look back at his tenure right now, it's been kind of like the Blues this season, really inconsistent.
Yes.
Yes.
Just one really quick thing I'm pulling from this article because this is fascinating. Just the big thing I think that we're going to have to focus on. Customers will be able to access their local team's content on Prime Video channels where Diamond has their rights. So that means you don't have to use the
But that's
app
streaming.
anymore?
Streaming.
And Major League Baseball doesn't allow. For example, the Cardinals Our Bally is not allowed to stream the Cardinals. That's under the umbrella of Major League Baseball's streaming mechanism.
Correct.
So those teams like the Royals, there's 5 or 6 teams that are allowed to stream on their own individual devices.
Is it up to that much?
Yeah.
I didn't even think it was that much.
Half Bally has 11 or 12 teams, and half of them are streaming and half of them aren't.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I remember for a while there was only one team, and it was the Marlins, I believe.
They could stream?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
Just get it fully accessible, figure it out so your fans can watch the games.
It sounds so simple, right? But for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out yet.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. Coming up, the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot is out, and Dan and I are going to fill ours out and tell you who we're voting for next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided that it is time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have a house in U City. We absolutely love it. It's over 100 years old, but we didn't really love our main bathroom. But this is the first time we've really done anything like this before, and we didn't know exactly where to start, so we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here at 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visited our house for a free consultation and sketched out a vision of how to transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops and cabinet options. They had so many options available. Jen was the one who helped us out, and she was fantastic. She already had some great ideas for us that just really fit into our budget. Their friendly and experienced team has been turning visions into reality for over 20 years. Schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their awesome showroom. And make sure you mention Brooke sent you.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Welcome back to the Opening Drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Randy Carricker and Danny Mac. Guys, it's that time of year again. It's time for the 2024 Baseball Hall of Fame. Voting is upon us. The Baseball Writers Association of America will announce the results of this year's election live from Cooperstown. That's coming up on January 23rd on MLB Network. But right now, here in this studio in St. Louis, we're going to make some decisions and get to voting here. I wish that they counted, guys, but sadly they don't. But I believe that your word, what you guys have to say, holds a lot of weight. So this year's 26-player ballot showcases a strong rookie class in Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, and Chase Utley. But there's also those holdovers that we always talk about. You have Alex Rodriguez, you have Manny Ramirez, and Carlos Beltran. So, guys, tell us your votes for this year's Hall of Fame ballot.
I went a little controversial with my guys.
Okay.
So I'll start with Carlos Beltran. He was part of the cheating scandal and lost to his job with the Mets. Because of that, I think he'll get a chance to manage as this goes away, and not many people are talking about it. I don't think we talk that much about it anymore. So Carlos Beltran is my first selection. Should I go through all 10, or let's just go back and forth?
Yeah, you can go back and forth.
Okay. I got Adrian Beltre going in, 3,000 hits. He's in. All the home runs that he hit as well. I think controversial pick to an extent, although he's close. He's got 72% of the votes. You need 75, and that's Todd Helton. The only reason it's controversial is because of where he played. He played at Coors Field, hit 287 on the road. His on-base percentage actually on the road was 386, which is better than 12 of the biggest names that you have in the Hall of Fame. So I think he gets in. Andruw Jones, the former Atlanta Brave, one of the great defensive center fielders that's ever played. I put him in. I put Manny Ramirez in. I'm done with the steroid stuff. I think Mark McGwire should be in. I think some of the guys that are Rafael Palmeiro, I think you can put a plaque in and say that they were associated with the steroid era, put their history in. It's not the Hall of Fame of great people. It's the Hall of Fame of baseball players. So I put Manny in. I put A-Rod in. I'm going to put K-Rod in. Francisco Rodriguez, 5th all-time in saves. Gary Sheffield, also associated with the steroid era. He is going to get my vote. And my final vote went to one of the greatest defensive shortstops of all time. Has had his off-the-field issues, but Omar Vizquel, and that would be my 10.
Okay.
Oh, Randy?
I only have 8 at the moment. And one of the things that I think is one of the positions that's underrated in the Hall of Fame is the closer. It's your job. Don't blame somebody because of their job, and I think a lot of the writers do. But Francisco Rodriguez is 4th all-time in saves. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And Billy Wagner. We watched Billy Wagner. I have no doubt.
I had Billy, too. Okay. That was my last guy. I'm sorry. I had Billy Wagner. That's my 10.
6th all-time in saves, leading all left-handers in saves. So Billy Wagner is on my list. I approach it differently in regards to steroids for you, with you, Dan, because I will be more than happy to put in somebody who is alleged to have used before there was testing. But if you got suspended once testing started, like A-Rod did or like Manny Ramirez did, then I'm not going to put you in because you were stupid.
You shouldn't have gotten caught? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's fair. That's a good way to look at it. Okay.
Carlos Beltran is absolutely a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. And he wasn't the only guy that was involved in that scandal in Houston. He may be the face of it, but Jeff Luhnow was the face of it too. Jose Abreu is a face of it too. For me, there's way too much before this ever came up about Carlos Beltran that was good in his career to not have him be in the Hall of Fame. So I think Beltran's a Hall of Famer. I'm with you. I think Adrian Beltre is easy. I've got our guy, Mark Burley, going in. Nobody took the ball like Mark Burley. Had the perfect game. He had another no-hitter. He pitched. He was the ace for a world championship team. He really wasn't in a great spot either. I think Burley is with the Cardinals for his entire career. He has his numbers are even better. So I'm gonna put Burley in there. I'm with you with Todd Helton. I think a lot of guys from The Colorado days are underrepresented. Todd Helton, kind of like Arenado, he could have hit anywhere. He's fine.
Yep.
He's a Hall of Famer. I'm with you with Andrew Jones. And then I have Sheffield in because, again, Sheffield was playing and was accused of using no definitive proof before there was ever any idea of a suspension. So I've got Sheffield in. I had Chase Utley is on my borderline. Joe Mauer is on my borderline. But right now, I look at their numbers and I can't put those two in.
So what would you do then with Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds?
See,
so they weren't, they didn't have a suspension.
I would have voted for them every year.
Yeah, me too.
And McGuire.
Yes.
Me too.
And here's the other thing, and we're talking about suspicion here, okay? So you've got the connection to Balco with Clemens and Bonds. Are you telling me that you never, as a writer, that you never suspected when you looked at Bagwell and Piazza? Are you kidding me? So how are you making this decision that, okay, clearly Bagwell and Piazza deserve to be in, they never used, but the other guys, because of their association with Balco, did? Come on, give me a break. Ricky Henderson played till he was 46. Dennis Eckersley pitched till he was 46. You don't pitch that or play that well when you're that old.
What would you do with Pete Rose? I'm putting him in.
I would have put Pete in a long time ago, too.
Yeah.
I wish there was a little bit of admission on the part of Pete Rose, and he kind of half-heartedly admitted it. But I'm with you, especially now. If you're baseball, Pete's over 80 years old, and you have totally embraced gambling now.
You have.
So
Isn't
why
that
not?
so weird how, and look, I understand it was very taboo, and for a lot of the right reasons, it can get to a point where it can get really out of hand, but at the same time, we've also got to a point where it's a big part of society now, and it's not as taboo as it was back then.
Yeah. I guess my issue with Rose, and I just said I would put him in, now I'm going to counter myself and say, if he was managing, which he was, and betting on games at that time, and you're playing the Cardinals, for an example, and you say, boy, I would like to use a lefty against Carricker here, but I'm probably not going to do that because maybe subconsciously I'm thinking about the game tomorrow, or I'm thinking about game 3 of my series and how I'm going to use my bullpen. That part of it, the purity of the game, the sanctity of the, however you want to, you hope you're getting fairness and honesty on both sides. I just wonder if subconsciously, you don't make a move because you're thinking ahead.
And Dan, here's the other part of this. He gambled
Does that
so
make
much.
sense?
Yeah, he never did bet against his team. But what I understand, what I believe, is that the people that he bet with, it was a given that if he didn't bet for the Reds on a given night, that he was betting against them.
Correct.
It could have put money into the pockets of his bookies. But I believe he served his penance. He was suspended in 1989, right?
Right.
Yeah.
99, 09, 19. I mean, no, 99. Yeah, 35 years. That's enough. And he's going to die. So give him his day. He's over 80. He's on his last legs.
That was a way to end it. And I put together my own little mini one as well. Okay, just a mini one. Adrian Beltre. It's also really interesting to see some of these names where it feels like they didn't play not too long ago. But I love Adrian Beltre too, just because of his personality. You guys remember how fun he was out there. Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, Jerry Sheffield, Chase Utley, and then Billy Wagner as well, and Manny Ramirez. And I agree with you guys about Carlos Beltran. I just think at this point, I know he was the only one that wasn't granted immunity, but it seems like everybody else was able to get away from that situation, serve their time. I feel like he has also been punished to a really big extent. So I'm with you guys on all of those. Well, coming up next, we are going to head to the celebrity line to talk to Jamie Rivers about the Blues. That's coming up here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
I had the chance the other day to visit with Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage, and he told me about a million different things that he's helping people with throughout St. Louis, the metro area, throughout the Midwest. Stewie joins us this morning. Stewie, what are you working on today?
You know, we just had an ESPN listener, Dan, that got a contract accepted below what the competitor offers were. Now, here's what happened. All the other offers said, hey, we're going to close in 30 days, and our contingency for financing will be in 3 weeks. That means that the seller has to wait 3 weeks to see if the deal is going to go through. We did something better. We gave them the commitment letter on the day that they supplied the contract, and we said we can close in 12 days. They took our offer, which was $5,000 less than the competitive offer, the highest competitive offer. We're going to close them in 12 days, and they're going to get the house of their dreams for less.
Hey, Stewie, I hope you had a good trip. Everything safe the other day?
Everything is safe the other day. It's a wild, wild world we live in. So you got to take advantage of the opportunity and enjoy the fact we live in this wonderful country.
You bet. Thanks for joining us in the morning. That's Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. Number to call, ESPN listeners, write it down. Personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues Booth. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors, a proud partner of your St. Louis Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com.
To the nation's capital today to take on the Capitals tomorrow night. And you'll hear that game here on 101 ESPN with the pregame at 5, action at 6. Of course, John Kelly and Jamie Rivers will have the call on Bally Sports. And Rivs, our colleague from the Fast Lane afternoons here on 101 ESPN, joins us now on the celebrity line. Rivs, good morning. How you doing?
Good, guys. How's everybody doing there?
We're very excited. Is there anything that you go to see when you go to Washington, D.C.?
Is there anything I personally go to see when I go there?
Are you a touristy guy?
I maybe way back when. Now I'm just quite fine to get there, get settled in, get ready for whatever I've got to do tomorrow. But I do remember going there the very first time and, you know, walking around and doing some of the things. And then fortunate enough later in my career to have met some people who let us, who got us set up with a tour in the Pentagon. So we got to go see the Pentagon one time. So that was pretty cool.
That's great.
That is really cool. Well, obviously the Blues with the tough loss against the Flyers the other night, it seemed like one of the big glaring issues, Jamie, was the offensive zone turnovers. And I know it's not just one player that was involved with that, but the Blues just really made some poor decisions in the offensive zone that led to those first 2 goals against. In those moments, what did you see?
Well, I see a team that desperately is trying to win every game, and they're trying to win the game with one play, and that's the worst way to go about it. Usually when you're a team like the Blues, if you don't have a McDavid or a Nathan McKinnon or somebody who can just automatically put points up for you and even up the game or take a goal lead, you got to be patient. You got to play your system. And I think that for me, the Blues have to manage the puck very well. And all that means is in situations where you don't have an advantage on that particular play, put the puck to an area that doesn't hurt you. And it's hard sometimes because these players want to win and they want to create goals. They want to do things. And the turnovers aren't made out of a way of like a player not caring. Usually they're from a player who's trying to make something out of nothing because the competitive fire in them is saying, no, we have to score here. I have to do something extra special. Whereas, you need to tame that beast a little bit sometimes and realize that the best play right now is to just advance the puck behind the defenseman or put it in the corner or get it out of trouble so that we don't give up an opportunity on those plays. So it's more of a mental discipline than anything else, and it's a process, and it's a way of thinking that this team's going to have to adopt.
Jamie, I know you haven't talked about the power play at all this season, so I figured we'd just get into it this morning. But a couple of good things with this. They're putting Sundqvist up front. You see neighbors up there. They're getting traffic in front of the net, that presence in front of the net. They're shooting the puck more. Are you seeing, under Drew Bannister, an improved power play, let's say, the last 3 weeks or so?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, I think there's been a lot of talk about the power play, and justifiably so. It's cost you some hockey games. And, you have to improve in that area. And I think that the team has made good steps to doing that. And in particular, the last 3 games where Drew Bannister just quite honestly was like, listen, guys, we're putting guys in front of the net, and we have to shoot the puck. If we don't shoot the puck, you won't play on the power play. And you've seen the difference. 2 goals against the Rangers, 2 goals against the Flyers, another goal the other night. Like, these are things that make a difference, and they're able to either stay in a hockey game or win a hockey game based upon the special teams. And so, to answer your question, I have definitely seen an improvement, and I've seen the change to where it's simplifying. Kind of going back to what we just talked about with the puck management stuff. It's like sometimes just simplifying the game actually gives you bigger benefits than trying to be too complicated and too fancy. Sometimes those things work against you.
Rivs, the Blues just finished a grueling stretch of 8 games against really good teams. Now they get Washington a couple of times. Calgary, though, has gotten a little bit hotter. Vancouver, one of the best teams in the league. Seattle's on a winning streak. The Kings, Columbus, it just never gets easy, does it? And the Blues, regardless of who they're playing, they're going to have to start winning games because everybody around them is winning games.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like the other day, you're sitting in the second wild card spot, and now you're sitting 5 points out of a wild card spot. And you played one game, you didn't win the game, but because everybody else continues to play and continues to win, it really makes it difficult to stay with the pack on this one. And you talk about teams like Calgary and Seattle and Arizona, they're not even in the wild card picture anymore. Now you've got the Edmonton Oilers, who seem like they're never going to lose again. They changed their head coach and they've never looked back. Mm-hmm. And then the Nashville Predators, who are, they just continue to win hockey games. So it's tough, man. You cannot lose multiple games in a row in this league. And I know the Blues lost 1 in overtime and 1 in regulation, but right now, if you're trying to keep pace with the rest of the pack here, if you're going to lose, it has to be a one-off, and then you have to go back to winning 2 or 3 in a row. There's just no time to breathe right now.
Hey, one other thing from me. Do you think Alex Ovechkin is going to catch Gretzky 42 goals away?
So I think he'll catch him, but it's weird for me. I'm always happy for any player who has a great accomplishment. It just gets a little murky for me because Alex Ovechkin, he'll play until he passes Gretzky. That's the way, even if he spends another 3 seasons trying to get to that number, I think the owner in Washington has already said that Alex Ovechkin has a contract for life until he decides he doesn't want to play anymore. And so I don't know if it tarnishes him catching Gretzky, the fact that he's limping across the finish line, just getting there. But I think he does catch him just because I think the longevity of his career and the way he's avoided injury the way he has, and he can still shoot the puck pretty good. I think he gets there, but I don't know. For me, it's like
Yeah.
Not quite the same.
Yeah, and by the way, I gave the wrong number. It's 64 away. Gretzky has 894. Ovi has 830.
I want to ask you, Jamie, a little bit about, and something you know quite well is defense, and Matthew Kessel asserting himself and not getting a lot of fanfare doing so. And watching the games, man, I think this guy is establishing himself as a very good NHL player.
Yeah, it's wild how it works sometimes. You got these guys who play in the minors. You know they exist, but you don't really know what they can bring to the table or if they'll ever even play in the National Hockey League. And, this is a situation where you have a head coach who was coaching him down there and said, hey, look, I believe in this guy. Brought him up, give him a chance to play, and all Matthew Kessel has done is be solid. He hasn't been scored on once yet, 5-on-5, since he's been recalled from Springfield. And he's played some big minutes. He's played against some tough opponents. He's played against the other team's best players. I like it. He's a big kid. He's not overly aggressive out there. It's not like he's going to intimidate anybody. But he's 6'3", about 205. You know when he's there. He closes gaps out there. He plays the body hard. He moves the puck well. And one thing that I've really liked here in the last couple of games is he's starting to expand his territory. And what I mean by that is he's not just playing solid defensively anymore. He's jumping up in the play. He's becoming an option in the offensive zone. So his game is expanding out there too. And that's probably mostly due to the fact that he's more confident right now than he was when he first got up here. But for me, Dan, I don't see any scenario in the near future where your blue line doesn't have Matthew Kessel.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. There's no doubt. I want to go back to just one other thing. What is it like when Wayne Gretzky is in Canada? Can he even breathe when he's up there? I know you've been around him when you guys have been in Canada. What is it like when he goes back to, places that he played and what he means to that country?
Well, it was tough, Dan, when I played with Wayne because, there were a lot of people there to see me, too. So Gretz kind of got overshadowed.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's tough life for sure. But, no, in all seriousness, it was crazy. It's like traveling with a rock star because we had our own security to travel with the team, and you would arrive at 2 o'clock in the morning to some town in Canada, and there would be hundreds of people surrounding the hotel waiting to just catch a glimpse, or hopefully he would sign something or take a picture. And he couldn't go anywhere up there. His hotel room was under an alias's name, so that nobody could figure out where he was staying as far as what room.
Do you remember what his alias was?
Oh, I know exactly what it was. I can't tell it either because he still uses it.
He still uses it, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won't tell anybody that.
I'll tell you in private at the station when I see you, Randy. But
I've heard what it is. So
yeah, it was funny because you pick up your room keys. Everybody grabs a room key, and I remember it was Jim Campbell and I, and we were looking down. We looked at it like, who the heck is that? Thought we called somebody up or who is this guy? Is he better than me? Is he a defenseman? Who is this guy? Then we figured out it was just good old Wayne. He's hiding from people, which I don't blame him.
I don't either. Riz, same thing with you, and you have fun in Washington, D.C. We know that especially all those government people, they're all over you. They just want to get a photo, a selfie with Jamie Rivers. So
not only human.
You take care of yourself. Have a great trip, brother.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
See you later. Now. That is Jamie Rivers, and you'll hear him this afternoon. No, they might be in the air this afternoon.
They'll be on probably a 2 o'clock flight on their way to D.C.
So you probably won't hear him here on 101 ESPN, but you'll see him tomorrow night on Bally.
That's right. I bet you hear him tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
He checks in on the road.
Love that.
Yeah, I do too. Boots on the ground, as they say, Randy.
Boots on the ground, eh? You know it, eh?
Hey.
We've got no Jamie today on the fast lane. No Jamie today on the fast lane.
Okay, officially. It's the bulletin, apparently. The flash, apparently
Breaking
official.
news.
Yeah. We've got the fight coming up. Matthew, do you need a fighter?
Yep.
Okay, so if you will just text in to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. If you'd like to participate in the fight, just send in your name and the word fight, and maybe you will fight me next on 101 ESPN.
Open up your 101 mobile app for your chance to win free tickets to see Billy Joel and Sting. One night only on Friday night, September 27th at Busch Stadium. Joel, and Sting. Coming this September to Busch Stadium. Find all the ticket details and find that chance to win free tickets for the show right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
You've heard of all the services Victory Men's Health offers. Now it's even easier with their telehealth service. Whether it's weight loss, hormones, or micronutrient testing, you can be assessed in the comfort of your own home. It's easy by just going to victorymenshealth.com and clicking on telehealth. Pick the service you're interested in, and based on what service you are seeking, a lab draw kit will be shipped right to your home. Then a video telehealth consultation to discuss your results. Telehealth from Victory Men's Health. victorymenshealth.com for more details. Must be a resident of Illinois or Missouri to use this service.
Okay, we've had some bad weather. We're going to have a little bit more bad weather. And as our ice melts, you might start to see some water coming over the edge of your gutters. Or maybe you still have some leaves in your gutters, and that's causing consternation for you. That's why you need to get in touch with gutterpros.com. Because at Gutter Pros, what they're going to do is come out and take a look at your gutters and tell you exactly what you need. Sometimes when you have a house built, the gutters are too small, and they can provide you with bigger gutters. They can provide you with leaf protection for those gutters. They also do soffit and fascia. They do amazing work. It's a great St. Louis company. Dave Sylvester, their general sales manager, is from St. Louis and cares about St. Louis. As a matter of fact, they have a downtown facility, and they'll come out and provide you a free estimate anywhere within 50 miles of that facility. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. They give 4 out of 5 stars, 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews, because they're an incredible company. If you think you might need gutters, get the free estimate from Gutter Pros. They aren't going to pressure you. Gutterpros.com. Set your appointment today. After all, water goes where we tell it at gutterpros.com.
Would you like to make no mortgage payments for 2 months? Consolidate credit cards and student loans and save money now. Call 314-567-GOLD. NMLS 114937.
Sponsored by Illinois Department of Public Health.
You can now watch 101 ESPN live on our Air Alliance Team Studio Cams. Catch every show live on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Studio Cams.
Presented by the Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues still off today. You got to wait another night for some Blues hockey, but you can catch their game against the Capitals right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues, 101 ESPN. Thursday evening, it's a 6 p.m. puck drop. Pregame show starts at 5. Last night, local college basketball, 2 losses for your local programs as Dayton tops St. Louis 70-65, and Missouri gets beat up by Alabama 93-75. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Randy Carricker, Danny Mac, and Matthew Rocchio, and it is now time for the fight. We welcome in our fighter, our challenger today. Stepping up the plate is Andrew. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Is this your first time facing Randy?
It is.
Are you nervous, excited, confident?
Oh, I'm a little of all.
All of the above. Okay, we like to hear that.
All the above.
All right, you ready for question number 1?
Yes.
All right, Andrew. Happy birthday to former Cardinals pitcher Mark Littell. Which historic milestone did Littell give up in 1981? A World Series walk-off home run, Ricky Henderson's 130th stolen base, or Pete Rose's National League hits record?
I'm sorry, could you repeat those again, please?
A World Series walk-off home run, Ricky Henderson's 130th stolen base, or Pete Rose's National League hits record?
Wow, I have zero clue here. Let's go with the first one.
Final answer, a World Series? Yeah, okay. Question 2. In the last 100 years, only one National League team has won back-to-back World Series. Which franchise? Pittsburgh Pirates, LA Dodgers, or the Cincinnati Reds?
Again, I have no clue. Let's go with the Cincinnati Reds.
All right. Question 3. Here we go.
Which Hall of Fame boasts a trio of brothers in their ranks? Is it Major League Baseball, NBA, or the National Hockey League?
Trio of brothers. 3 for 3 with no clue. Go the NHL.
Wilt Chamberlain was the first and for a long time the only player in NBA history to score back-to-back 55-point games. That was until 2019 when this MVP matched the feat. Was it Russell Westbrook, Giannis, or James Harden?
Oh, man. Well, might as well be consistent with 4 for 4. No idea. Let's go with Russell Westbrook.
Okay, let's go get Randy and we'll bring him in.
Andrew, how are you feeling? Andrew?
I am looking forward to hearing Randy.
Was there something that you were hoping to hear instead? Was there a sport maybe?
Football would have been nice. Pacific NHL would have been nice.
And none of that today. It's like
happy to be a
Rock
part of the
knows. Yeah, there you go. That's a great way to look at it. Randy just walked in with his grapes and was messing with Dan's mic for whatever reason. What were you doing there?
Because Dan was giving me trouble.
Saying, get his butt in here and let's go. Let's play.
He thinks I can see him through the thing. We've got a 101 ESPN. We've got our room, our studio wrapped, and Dan thinks that I can see through this thing, and I can't see, so he has to open the door, and he was mad at me.
I've never said that. Never. I just was trying to gather your attention.
Oh.
Yes.
You did?
Make sure you get in here. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready, Dan.
Brooke, question 1, please.
All right. Happy birthday to former Cardinals pitcher Mark Littell. Which historic milestone did Littell give up in 1981?
Historic milestone?
Mm-hmm. Did he give up in 1981?
So he would have been a member of the Cardinals at that point. Would he have given up a big hit maybe to Pete Rose? Let's see. The Eric Shaw had... I better do the lifeline, Brooke. Eric Shaw gave up the 41-92. Maybe he gave up 41-91, but let's just do the lifeline instead.
All right. A World Series walk-off home run.
He didn't do that.
Ricky Henderson's 130th stolen base.
He didn't do that.
Pete Rose's National League hits record.
There you go. 36-31. Pete Rose's National League hit record.
In the last 100, you only get the lifeline once, right?
I do. Yeah, no more lifelines left, Dan.
Okay. In the last 100 years, only one National League team has won back-to-back World Series. Which franchise?
This is really a fact? Only one National League team has won back-to-back World Series? That's amazing. So wouldn't you go with the 75-76 Cincinnati Redlegs, the big red machine? I would say that would be the one team that would have had that happen.
Question three.
Which Hall of Fame boasts a trio of brothers in their ranks?
Can you give this again?
Which Hall of Fame boasts a trio of brothers in their ranks?
Okay, one singular Hall of Fame that has a trio of brothers in their ranks. So is it hockey with the Richards? Hockey is the most likely here. I don't think basketball has three brothers. Football, we were trying to think of this the other day, and we couldn't think of two brothers in the Hall of Fame. And then baseball, the Alou brothers aren't in the Hall of Fame. Cruz brothers aren't in the Hall of Fame. There's only two Deans, but only one of them is in the Hall of Fame. I am going to go with the Hockey Hall of Fame, Brooke, just based on logic here. And like you got the Mahavliches, Mark and Marty Howe, but their dad, Cordy, but they aren't in the Hall of Fame. But Maurice, Rocket Richard, you had...
What's your answer, Randy?
I'm going to go... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Barry, Maurice, and Andy.
So you're going National Hockey League?
National Hockey League.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I'm going with the Bee Gees.
Question 4.
And that just went right over your head.
I know, I got it. Wilt Chamberlain was the first and for a long time the only player in NBA history to score back-to-back 55-point games. That was until 2019 when this MVP matched the feat.
2019. Huh. Michael Jordan never had a double nickel? Wow. That I would go, Dan, with the once prolific and once well-liked beard, James Harden.
Final answer, Randy?
Final answer, yeah. He's got his number retired, you know.
Rocc,
it's up in the rafters.
Rocc, do we have a winner?
We do, in fact, have a winner. No calculator necessary here. It's a 2-question win in the fight. Does Andrew take down Randy Carricker after 22 straight wins? Or does Megamind just keep rolling on? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I thought I'd get him with one or two of those. With a 4-2 victory, Randy Carricker hit the jack and he beat you today.
Hey. Not named Megamind for nothing.
There you
go, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
You said you guessed on all 4 and you got 2 right. That's a pretty good conversion rate, if you ask me.
Thanks, Andrew, for playing. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
A good friend told me that there's a movie named Megamind. Is this true?
There is, yes. It's a
kids movie,
animated movie. I don't know if it was that good or not. Or like that. Like,
Will Ferrell, yeah. If Will Ferrell's in it, then it's good.
Maybe I can pull some clips from that. Let's go through the questions and answers. Happy birthday to former Cardinals pitcher Mark Littell. It was, in fact, Pete Rose's NL hits record that he gave up October 10th of 1981. He allowed that hit.
He did allow a game-winning home run to Chris Chambliss in the American League Championship Series in '77. And that's kind of one of the reasons he got traded here. He got traded here for Hungo.
Yep. In the last 100 years, it is only one NL team. It has not happened since the Big Red Machine. It never happened. The only team before the Big Red Machine in the NL had done it. You have to go back to the 1922 and 1923 New York Giants. The only other NL team in the last 100 and, I guess, 2 years.
And then they became a football team later, right?
Different organization. Which Hall of Fame boasts a trio of brothers in their ranks? Lionel, Ray, and Charlie Conacher are a trio of brothers in the NHL Hall of Fame, the only Hall of Fame that has 3 brothers all enshrined.
Andy, Maurice, and Barry Gibb.
There is no, and there's only 2 Richard brothers, or maybe there's only 2 Richard brothers who played hockey.
And then I think there was a third, but he wasn't a brother.
Yes,
Richard's kind of like Jones in Quebec.
Exactly. So it's the Conachers in the NHL Hall of Fame, and Will Chamberlain was the first and for a long time the only player in NBA history, but it wasn't until James Harden, the Beard, went off for 56 and then 58 in a double overtime game in the second instance for 2 double nickels in a row, the only one since Will Chamberlain. A 4-2 win for Randy Carragher in the fight today.
Who was your favorite Big Red Machine player?
Probably Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, Joe Morgan, for sure.
I love George Foster. George Foster hit me in the head with a thrown ball one time when I was an usher. And then he's standing over me. He knocked me out.
Did he really?
Are you serious?
I was unconscious on the field. He's standing over me. My eyes open, and there's big George Foster looking. You okay, dude? So a few years ago, down at in Phoenix, I was at a Giants game, and he was signing autographs. You know how they have old-timers signing autographs. And I went up and told him the story. He didn't remember it, but I've got a George Foster autograph at home. Randy, sorry I hit you in the head. Signed George Foster. But then, Foster, Geronimo, Ken Griffey Sr., and then Rose played third for that team, and Concepcion, Morgan, Perez, and bench. I would probably go with Joe Morgan. I like
and Sparky Anderson.
And Sparky Anderson was their manager.
Yep.
What's the rule? I don't know, Jack.
when he's got the ball, foot's on the bag, that's the rule, man. 1985, Todd Worrell.
And Sparky is still managing. So Jack says, well, what's the rule? And Sparky says, I don't know. That's a Denkinger call.
Tony Perez, with all those kids that were around there, too. You had Pete Rose's kids. You had Perez's kids.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr.'s kids. There's one other one, too, I was thinking of, with a C. Son played in Toronto, I believe. Oh, who was that? Not a Hall of Famer, but his kid played in the major leagues, too. So, anyway, a lot of great players that came from that team.
Coming up, Robbie, Tommy on the opening drive.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. This year, I set 2 really big goals for myself. One, to get back into tennis. That's a sport I've played my entire life, and get in great shape for my big day, which is coming up in June, my wedding. And thanks to everyone over at the Missouri Athletic Club, I'm already off to such a great start. Just this week alone, on Monday, I went over and actually started working with Scott on my tennis game. I was a little rusty, but still it was just great to get back out there on a court. And yesterday, I worked out with Christine to really start my personal training journey. We did more than just lift weights. She really took the time to go over my sleep schedule and diet and everything like that. All the things to just really help me reach my goal. Everyone over there at the Missouri Athletic Club has been so kind and helpful, making sure I get off to that great start to 2024 and help me achieve my goals. I really feel like I'm joining a community over there. That's my MAC. They always provide a wonderful experience, and that's why I love the Missouri Athletic Club.
inside the Blues locker room. What a goal by Robert Thomas! It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN, where we always ask the tough questions and dig deep with our journalistic integrity. And Robert Thomas is with us here on 101 ESPN. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well, guys.
Okay, so you're watching TV on a Sunday afternoon and you're flipping around. Give me a movie that when you come to it, you can't stop watching.
I'm going to go with... I love Grown Ups. I think Grown Ups is my one. Whenever I see it on,
Nice call. I like that. That's a good one.
That is a
Great
good
job.
one. What about like a TV show? Oh, sorry. What did you say?
Or Ted. I love Ted.
Oh,
Ted's great.
The Ted, the scene in the comedy club is like one of my. It should have won an Academy Award. It's one of the all-time great scenes in the history of movies.
Have you watched the new show yet of Ted?
No, I haven't. I haven't watched that yet.
No, it's really good. I just started watching it, so it's something that you could watch. Is there a TV show?
You bought Peacock, huh?
I did. I already had it. Randy, I already had it, so it was easy. You could watch the football games and then watch Ted later on, the new show. And it's actually a really, really good show. Is there a show that you like to watch?
I do like TV shows. What was the one I just finished? That new Netflix one, Fool Me Once or whatever. I just finished that one. It was good. That was a one-dayer. I think it was 8 episodes. But it was cold here, and I crushed that in one day.
Oh.
I got to check that out.
Okay, so you're a binge watcher.
Yeah, definitely a binge watcher.
So we had Jamie Rivers on earlier, and Randy asked him about, do you go sightseeing a little bit? Do you take in what the city has to offer? You guys will land in D.C. probably around 5-ish, I would guess, Eastern time. Is there time for you to go out and sightsee at all, or is it all business?
Probably all business this time. I've already been fortunate enough to go in the White House and see that whole area out. So for me, it'll just be all business.
What was that experience like when you went to the White House? What stands out as you reflect on it now, just a few years ago?
I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever done. Just from going through all the background checks of security, and then, you're standing inside there and you can see the security outside of the place. And just in such for a Canadian kid who didn't really grow up in the U.S., just to be able to be in there was pretty sweet.
Well, despite the loss the other night against the Flyers, it was a special career moment for Braden Shin the other night, playing in his 900th career game. Robert, what has he meant to the organization and to you?
Yeah, someone that since he's gotten here, he's an honest player. I think we all see that the way he plays the game, and hard-nosed, sticks up for his teammates, and just off the ice, he's been a great leader for a lot of guys, especially young guys, bringing them along, and he's definitely really good to me my first couple of years, and I think it's someone that's been a favorite in the locker room for a while.
Hey, Robert, you guys are moving ahead now. Man, that was a grueling 8-game stretch that you guys just got out of. And I know starting the homestand, I think the teams that you played were, one of them or two of them were tied for the most points in the league. I think Florida had the 3rd most points, and then Philly had the 7th most. It's not like any game is easy, but do you feel like getting 3 out of 8 points, you kind of got through a gauntlet, and maybe now you can get on a little bit of a roll?
We had some tough matches, especially coming in, and we would have liked one or two more wins, but we beat some really good teams, so I think it gives us a lot of confidence. I think we got 7 games left till the break, and I need to make a good push and string together some wins. So I think just beating some really good teams was big for our group and showed that we can compete with anyone.
Well, just going back to that loss against the Flyers, it seemed like Drew Bannister talked a lot about puck management. It seemed like one of the big glaring issues in that loss was the offensive zone turnovers. And it wasn't just one player that was involved with that, but it seems like the poor decisions in the offensive zone led to those first 2 goals against. In those moments, what did you see?
Yeah, it's tough. I think we haven't scored many goals lately, and guys are trying to make plays, especially in the offensive zone. But there's got to be the right time and place, and those ones bit us in the butt. Going against Philly, they're a team that just plays hard. They defend well, and they get all their offense off turnovers and mistakes, and that's what ultimately bit us in the butt and caused us to lose the game. So it's not on one or two guys; it's on all of us. Everyone was doing it, and something that needs to be cleaned up.
It's amazing, Robert, when we watch, and we don't have the knowledge that you guys have, but when a coach comes out after a win and says, we just simplified things, it is amazing what a difference it makes when, you, like you say, you're trying to do too much and you're trying to make a play. Sometimes just, maybe every time, simplifying things makes all the difference in the world in this sport.
Yeah, I think there's a deeper story to it. I think, a lot of times, when you play within a structure, it allows your skill to kind of show, and you're able to be more creative, but it has to be within the structure. And when things aren't in the structure, you try and use your skill, and sometimes it works, sometimes you get lucky, but most of the time it just doesn't look good and doesn't give you a good result. So I think that's kind of what you mean by simplifying it, is you got to play within a structure, or else there's going to be no consistency night in, night out.
Robert, the top line has basically been intact for the entire year. We have seen it shuffled up just a bit here recently. How long does it take to get a familiarity with your line mates? And if somebody is moved to the second line and then some second liner comes up, the familiarity with each other, how long does that take?
Yeah, not too long, I don't think. Maybe like a shift or two, but I've played with pretty much everyone on this roster at some point in my career, so I got a good feel for, I'll just speak personally for everyone, so I don't think it takes too long at all.
Hey, Robert, we talked before you played Pittsburgh about playing against Crosby. What's it like being on the ice with Ovechkin?
Yeah, pretty cool. Obviously, one of the all-time greats, and someone I watched growing up. Pretty cool to share the ice with him, and hopefully will not add to his chase for Gretzky's goal record.
No doubt. And I think, from my point of view, he's got the best one-timer I've ever seen. You've kind of got that one-timer going a little bit, too. Do you ever watch other guys when you add to your game? Do you ever watch other guys and steal anything from, like, a guy like Ovechkin's game or Crosby's or whomever's?
I wouldn't put my one-timer anywhere near his category.
No.
But, no, you do. Definitely. I'm a hockey guy. I love watching hockey. Every night I'm not playing, I got it on the TV, watching different games, and you pick up on things. Even just from watching guys in the summer. I skate with Stamkos in the summer, and just watching him use his one-timer, I think I picked up a couple things on that, and I'm just a hockey nerd. I love watching hockey. I love picking up on things and learning new things, and that just comes from watching.
Yeah. Who had your favorite one-timer of all time? Is it Ovi or Stamkos or somebody else?
I think Ovi's the favorite for sure. He can beat a goalie straight on with no screen, and not many guys can do that consistently. And it's funny now that you kind of strategize to play against him, and there's literally a guy standing on him, and you still wonder how he gets so many goals from over there. So
it's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Who was that player that when you first got to the National Hockey League, you step on the ice, you were such a young guy at that point in time, and you go, oh my goodness, I'm in the NHL, I'm playing against this guy. Is there somebody that stands out for you?
Sidney Crosby, for sure. That was my guy. Just first time stepping on the ice with him, I was completely starstruck, and he was the one.
Cool. Well, Robert, have a great trip. Enjoy these 2 games against Washington. We always appreciate your time, and we will talk to you next week, sir. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
See you later. That's Robert Thomas with us on 101 ESPN.
Just had to give him a little walk-off music.
Oh, there we go.
Because remember, he said Post Malone. We didn't sing for him
we
today.
Forgot.
We disappointed him.
I purposely.
Dan, I know. Dan was ready to sing today too. It's crazy.
The music before the segment, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it at the end. That way we don't sing to him.
He's got expectations of us now. So
I don't think so, Randy.
As he heads to Toronto for the All-Star game, next week we'll sing him a little Post Malone song.
I think he's good, to be honest with you.
Dan, I don't know if you were here or not, but he said when we sang Smash Mouth, Hey Now You're an All-Star, he said he couldn't tell the difference between us and Smash Mouth.
No, he thought that we were just playing it back, the song to him.
No, he thought it was pretty bad.
You're saying he's lying to us? No.
Yeah.
No way.
Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. There's so many things about being a member of Together Credit Union that are really cool, and that includes having the St. Louis City SC debit card that allows you to get 10% off merch at the Pavilion Team Store, and once the season is back, and it'll be here before you know it, 10% off all food and drinks that you buy in the stadium, and most exciting, express entry into City SC matches over at City Park. So you want to become a member of Together Credit Union, and right now, if you're looking for a safe investment option, check out Together Credit Union's CD rate and term options and watch your money grow. Certificates of deposit are a reliable way to grow your money because the return on your investment is fixed and it's guaranteed. Right now, for example, Together Credit Union is offering a competitive 9-month CD with an APY of 5%. Required minimum balance of $1,000, but you get that guarantee on your investment. It's fixed at 5%, and you get it for the 9 months that you have the CD. Visit your nearest Together Credit Union branch or go online to togethercu.org for details and become a member and start growing your savings at Together Credit Union today.
Recapping the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Last night, not a great night for the local basketball teams. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN 9:06. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. The Billikens lose at Dayton 70-65. Deron Holmes 25 second half points for the Flyers, and the Billikens fall below 500 now at 8-9. Meanwhile, Alabama trounced Mizzou 93-75. But the score of the game, Brooke and Dan, was not really what the story of the game was.
No, it was what happened with Nate Oates. If you saw the video there, you could see Nate Oates shoving Aiden Shaw during last night's game. And it prompted a lot of people to ask why exactly he would do that, why he would get involved in that way. And here's what Dennis Gates had to say about the situation.
Nate apologized after the game. I've known Nate since he was a high school coach in Detroit. But I just posed the question, if that was players in a huddle with a hand on an opponent, what would take place? It would be an automatic technical foul, right? I thought I saw 2 referees in the huddle. It wasn't a technical foul. But that's the question I would pose. If it was players making hand contact, what would take place? I'm proud of Aiden Shaw and his ability to restrain himself and his teammates' ability to restrain themselves. But again, Nate apologized after the game.
I like what Dennis Gates said there. Now, what do you guys think about that whole situation? I personally think that Nate Oates was out of line.
Yeah, you can't touch a kid. I mean, you can't touch a player. There is no chance that you should be able to do that, and immediately it should be a technical foul. And if it's not a technical foul, then you're ejected. You cannot, as a head coach, touch an opposing player. And it's really not that hard to break it down. You touch an opposing player, you should be ejected.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. I don't understand why he got away with that. And the game was chippy all night long, and it gets chippy when referees don't handle it early. And I think when you handle it early, you take some of that stuff out of the chippiness of a game. If you call it differently, you don't have the scenario that unfolded last night at Alabama. Alabama, by the way, Tuscaloosa was like shut down because of weather. Mm-hmm. And after the under-16 timeout, fans were told they could move closer. I thought that also had a huge effect on the game and some of the tempers that were going on. The crowd was into it, and it just got to be a situation where that shouldn't happen. I'm not saying that Missouri should have won, but I am saying that Nate Oates should have been ejected from the game, or at least a tee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I just don't understand why it got to the point. Now, he tried to go and say that he was breaking up a fight, but you guys saw the video in the situation. Do you feel like that was what was happening there?
No, I think I just think tempers were raised, and Nate Oates took it too far, and he shouldn't have touched an opposing player. And like I said, it's either a tee, Randy, or an ejection.
Yeah, I would say that a technical foul would have served everybody well and serves as a deterrent for Nate Oates if he wants to do it again. And that's a good team, and he's a good coach, and like Gates said, he's been around the block. There's no reason for Nate Oates to be pushing Aiden Shaw.
No, and Dan, you brought this up earlier, and it was a good point about what we're kind of seeing right now with some of the college basketball coaches where they're getting maybe a little bit too involved in some of that. Why is that, you think? Is it the Eric Musselman effect, or what is going on there?
I just think that officials at times don't control the narrative of the game. Meaning, when I say the narrative of the game, when you start getting the high tempers and the pushing and the shoving, that needs to stop. And these coaches are allowed to go on the floor. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're playing like as a sixth man on defense. Get them back in the coach's box, get them off the floor, and make sure they don't touch an opposing player. That is the worst thing that can possibly happen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Meanwhile, the Blues are back in action tomorrow night. They'll take on the Capitals in Washington, D.C. We'll have that action for you at 6 o'clock, the pregame at 5 here on 101 ESPN. Jim Harbaugh, after interviewing with the Los Angeles Chargers, has interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons also have interviewed Bill Belichick, and these are the two hot names. I'm interested to find out, once the process takes place, who else these two coaches interview with. I'd be surprised if, for example, Belichick didn't interview with the Chargers. And if the teams have their way, who are they going to choose?
By the way, have the Atlanta Falcons already, which team was it? They've already interviewed like 7 or 8 candidates. I think it was the Falcons. It's been done quietly. The big one was obviously Jim Harbaugh. Anywhere Belichick goes is going to be big as well. It just seems to me that if you're Jim Harbaugh and if you're the Chargers, it seems to be the right fit. He's got a franchise QB locked up till 2029. It just seems to be the right fit for me as I look at what the scenarios that are unfolding. And I want to see the evil empire of Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick down in Dallas. I want to see that. It'd be great theater.
Well, yeah, and that's where it goes back to my take it or leave it earlier from that report from Jeremy Fowler, where he was talking about that he is seeking to coach a talented but underachieving team in Bill Belichick. That just sounds like the Cowboys. It has it written all over it. It feels like a marriage made in hell, but at the same time, it will be interesting to watch. Don't you think, though, that Bill Belichick, if he could choose, if you're in his shoes, don't you think that he wishes or wants that Chargers job?
It depends for me of how much player personnel he has a say in of all these places and how much he's willing to give up or how much a organization is willing to give him.
And the Chargers have a ton of cap issues. They're going to have to let good players get away. And that's one of the differences between these two franchises. Do you take the franchise with the quarterback that doesn't have the cap space where you kind of have to rebuild a little bit, or do you go where the cap space is where you have to find the quarterback? I would just as soon go where the quarterback is. And by the way, the Chargers already have a left tackle, which benefits them. They have a pass rusher in Bosa, which benefits them. What you want to have is a quarterback, a guy to protect your quarterback, a guy to catch passes from your quarterback, and then a couple of corners. And the Chargers have pretty much everything you need to be a winning team.
To your point, though, Randy, Chargers have to cut $35 million to become compliant with next year's cap. Atlanta has the 8th overall pick, and they've got $35 million right now in cap room. Yeah. So two different sides of the spectrum there in terms of the cap and what they can do and how much cushion there is for both those franchises.
And Ian Rappaport reporting that your Titans, Brooke, will interview Dan Quinn, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, today. Here's what he's got. Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator of the Rams, interviewing with the Panthers today. And then he has the Commanders on Thursday and the Seahawks on Friday. So Raheem Morris is a busy man. And the Chargers and Falcons have requests in for him. And then Jeff Ireland, assistant GM of the Saints, is going to interview with the Chargers for their GM today. And as we mentioned, Dan Quinn interviews with the Titans today and the Panthers today. So Dan Quinn is a busy man.
Didn't Dan Quinn seem to be the right fit with Seattle? But then after you watch what's happened with Dallas defensively, I'd be a little cautious, I think.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to look at a whole season rather than one playoff game.
Sure.
And I'm willing to, and not that there weren't mistakes made against Green Bay, but that wasn't all his fault. And by the way, you've got a pick six, you've got a interception that is returned inside the red zone. I think it was inside the 10. So, yes, their defense was deficient. The Cowboys' defense was deficient. But number one, wouldn't blame him for that. And number two, if he has to coordinate the defense in Seattle, that's a problem. What I want from my head coach is Dick Vermeil. I want a CEO. I want a guy that's going to hire good assistant coaches and let them do their jobs and tell them I love them.
Tell them I love them. Yeah, I'm a little surprised about the Dan Quinn with the Titans, but then again, of course, they're going to interview a lot of people. I think that maybe the feeling amongst Titans fans is they're wanting more of an offensive-minded coach, a la Bobby Slowick. That's what I was hoping for, even a Ben Johnson, and I know that's asking for a lot. but still, I think that that's what you're hoping for in Tennessee.
Tell me this, as a Titans fan, isn't Dan Quinn Mike Vrabel light?
It is. It feels like that's what makes it interesting. Is that was my first thought. I was like, oh, so we're just going to do the same thing over again. Okay.
There you have your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we talked a little bit about the Hall of Fame ballot, and we know that you have some thoughts about the 2024 Hall of Fame ballot as well. And you can weigh in with your mic drops or your texts next on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are even considering selling your home, I want you to get ahead of the game and call Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty. Gloria's number is 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888. And Gloria and her staff are more than happy to tell you about the processes that they have in selling your home. And not only do they allow you to sell your home for the most money, but they can also sell on your time frame. They really do make the home selling process easy, and they educate you about it. Gloria's been in the business for more than 20 years, and she has a database of names of people that are interested in buying homes in your neighborhood. And it's really cool that she already has the buyers, because that's why she's able to guarantee the sale of your home in writing. And if it doesn't sell, she'll buy it at your agreed to price. There are an amazing number of people in her exclusive database looking to buy in your price range. That's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand, many times with multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. Gloria Lou, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Drive. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Randy Carricker and Danny Mack and Matthew Rocchio. And we were discussing this earlier, talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame ballots. And, of course, you have the Baseball Writers Association putting in their votes. But you know what matters here? I think that our vote should count, guys. And you guys put together some great ballots. So just to go back over it, we'll start with you, Dan. Who do you have on your Hall of Fame ballot for this year?
So I went Carlos Beltran, Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, even though he played at Coors Field. Went with Andrew Jones, one of the great defensive center fielders of his time, of his era, and that's why I also think that Jim Edmonds should be in, one of the reasons. Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Francisco Rodriguez, Gary Sheffield, Omar Vizquel, one of the top 5 defensive shortstops ever, and then Billy Wagner, who looks like he's going to get in. It also looks like Todd Helton will get in, and Adrian Beltre would get in this year, too.
I am pretty close to your ballot. I have Beltran and Beltre in. I have Mark Burley in as well. Burley is going to be a darling of the numbers people. He wasn't a regular 20-game winner, but he was also on a franchise that, for the most part, wasn't great. He was a number 1 pitcher, though, and really deserves to be in baseball's Hall of Fame. So after Burley, I'm with you, Dan. I have Todd Helton. I also have Andrew Jones. In addition to the great defense, he hit 434 home runs and had a career 823 OPS. And the great story of his wonderful exploits as a 19-year-old in the World Series, that just adds to the story. I do not have people that were suspended for steroids, so I don't have Manny or A-Rod in there. I have Francisco Rodriguez, 4th all-time in saves, Billy Wagner, 6th all-time in saves, and then I have Gary Sheffield as well, who is one of the great hitters that I've ever seen. I put him in the Hall of Fame just because he was so much fun to watch hit.
There you go. Why not?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Now, I want to go back because we were getting some texts in with this, and you just mentioned it there, Jim, and some people had some questions about Jim Edmonds and about him, why he isn't getting into the Hall of Fame. So from 3 and 4, can you guys explain why Berkman and Edmonds are not at least still on the ballot?
It's amazing to me. Jim Edmonds received 2.5% of the votes, and so that took him off the ballot after just 1 year. 4-time All-Star, 8 Gold Gloves. If you want to get into advanced metrics, he had an OPS plus of 132. So that's slugging percentage, on-base percentage, takes into account ballpark factors, things like that. It's better than Kirby Puckett. It's better than Andre Dawson. And it's only 4 back of Ken Griffey Jr., who many thought at that era was the premier, and understandably so, the premier center fielder of his time. You can make the case, though, when they both got to their respective teams, Jimmy in St. Louis, Ken Griffey in Cincinnati, Jimmy was the better player because he could stay on the field, and Ken Griffey Jr. could not. Lance Berkman, by the way, received less than 5% of the votes. It took him off the ballot as well. And he's one of the great switch hitters that ever played the game. I truly believe that. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure Matt Holliday would be considered a Hall of Famer. I think they're in the Hall of Fame of really, really, really good players.
Jim Edmonds, an 8-time Gold Glover with a 903 career OPS, and he is all over postseason highlights from when he got to the Cardinals in 2000 until the time he left after the 2007 season. You cannot look at one of the Cardinal postseasons when he was a member of the Cardinals, and
no doubt,
where he didn't make monster plays. I'm with you. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know, and I wonder if, number one, I don't think his era helped him. Because he's a guy that had almost 400 career home runs, right? How many career? He had 393.
Yeah.
If he gets to 400, it might be a different animal. Isn't it
crazy?
How weird it is.
You round those numbers out. Yep. You get forever. It was 500 home runs.
Yep. And Crime Dog was at 494, right?
Yeah.
And didn't make it in for a long time. If he would have hit 6 more home runs, I believe that it would have been different for Edmonds. But I think the other thing that hurt Jim Edmonds is people thought, okay, well, he played on a team with Pujols. Pujols was a man. He played on a team with another Hall of Famer, Roland. Roland was the man. He played on a team with Yachty. Yachty was the man. He played on a team with Beltran. I think that people thought that, okay, how can he be a Hall of Famer when he was the 4th or 5th best player on his team? Now, that might not be the case, but I think that voters probably don't look at him the way they should have.
Generally speaking, they don't take into account defensive players either.
Right.
And Jimmy Edmonds, 8 Gold Gloves, and was, in my mind, at his era, the preeminent defensive player in center field at that time. Now, Ozzie had a great career, known for his glove. Omar Vizquel, I'm putting him in, known for his glove. But rarely do you say, well, that player got in because of his defense. Ever. I mean, you hardly ever hear that.
What does that also frustrate you maybe a little bit with the voting process and how it works?
I wish there were more people that had a voice. I understand it's the baseball writers of America that make that choice, but there's some that don't care, and they just fill out a ballot without watching or knowing or understanding advanced metrics, and they just fill out a ballot. Not all. I think some take it very, very seriously, and and they should. It's an important part of someone's life, and it's life changing. There's no doubt. But I wish that there were others that had a voice.
And they've weeded out a lot of the people. It used to be that if you had worked at the Sporting News, which was based in St. Louis at the time, you got to vote. Howard Balzer, and he admitted this on the air, he didn't cover baseball at all. He never went to baseball games until the postseason, but he had a Hall of Fame ballot. And Bob Costas and Vin Scully couldn't vote for the Hall of Fame, even though they were around it every single day. So that is something that I agree with you could be solved with. And by the way, I think former Hall of Famers. Do former Hall of Famers vote in baseball?
Veterans Committee.
Okay, but not with the writers.
No.
Only the writers vote.
Right.
I think that would help. But I think the other problem that I see is people and closers have been woefully underrepresented. They're penalized because of the position that they play. DHs too. I don't think that you should be penalized if you're a DH. If you're the best DH, then I think you should be considered for the Hall of Fame. Same with closers.
How about Scott Rowland? He's only like the 8th or 9th third baseman to ever be inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. That's insane. And I'm with you. I think there are, especially with closers, although the role of the closers really changed. Bruce Sutter was going multiple innings. Now you see guys come in for maybe one inning and get the save or get the out, and they get the save. But there is something different, though, at the back end of a game to get the final out. There just is. The pressure of doing that as opposed to getting it in the 7th or the 8th inning. I'm not taking away 7th or 8th inning guys. They're very important as well. It's a role in baseball, but getting the final out is a different animal, and I think that you have to take a look at that.
Yep. By the way, Mark Burley, 214 wins, 160 losses. He started 493 games in his career, threw 3,300 innings. He was just a bulldog out there all the time. If you go down, you talk about what you want most, what the Cardinals were looking for. Here's Mark Burley's career after his rookie year. 32 starts, 34, 35, 35, 33, 32, 30, 34, 33, 33, 31, 31, 33, 32, 32. Kept his team in his team in the game all the time. He was, as far as I'm concerned, an easy Hall of Famer. I know that it's really tough for the writers to conceptualize what I'm talking about, but I think he's a Hall of Famer.
What was his career ERA, Randy?
3.81.
3.81.
That's in the DH American League.
And strikeouts?
He was not a huge strikeout guy. 1,870 strikeouts, and strikeouts per nine only 5.1.
Yeah, and that'll hurt him when you look at advanced metrics. And now you don't take into account 200. To me, Wainwright getting to 200 wins puts him in the conversation of the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure he's going to get in, but I think he certainly do a conversation about it. And I wonder if when he gets on the ballot, he will get on the ballot if they look at the 200 wins. And look, they don't look at wins a lot of times anymore. It's the advanced metrics, but these writers should understand that more than anybody. They're part of the ones that created it.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's Dan, and I'm Brooke. And coming up next, we got some texts in about this, guys, because there's some breaking news coming out. We discussed this a little bit earlier, but we're going to get into it a little bit more. Amazon is investing in Diamond Sports. What does that mean for Major League Baseball and for the Cardinals? That's coming up next here on 101 ESPN. Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. I don't have to tell you this because you are feeling it right now. It is really cold outside. Randy, are you surprised by that? But where you shouldn't be feeling that cold, drafty air is in your home. So call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct to avoid the cold. You may be wondering, can Windows really make that big of a difference? They really can, and here's how. Universal Windows, they have incredible technology developed by NASA called Super Spacer. It helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes the windows last up to 5 times longer than other Windows systems. So you get the best windows for your home within your budget, and they perform better and last longer. Call and schedule your free in-home estimate today. For every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 for free, plus a free upgrade to triple pane glass. Tell them that Brooke sent you, and you get an additional $250 off your next project. For the last windows you'll ever need, go to universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night in college basketball, the Billikens fall to their A-10 conference rivals, Dayton Flyers, 70-65. All-conference player Deron Holmes pours in 25 of his 29 in just the second half, and he was the only Flyer in double figures. And Alabama comes away with a big 93-75 win over the Missouri Tigers. Blues back in action after 2 days off tomorrow. It's a 6 p.m. puck drop over in the nation's capital. Means you can catch the pregame show right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues starting at 5 p.m. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your Rose and Shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
League Baseball and other sports have a problem on their hands with the fact that Diamond Sports, the parent company of Bally Sports, is in bankruptcy. And this morning it was announced that Amazon and Diamond Sports have reached an agreement in which Diamond Sports' largest creditors will allow it to emerge from bankruptcy because of an infusion of cash from Amazon. So Bally will continue operations and prevent a total collapse of the RSN system where the NBA, NHL, and MLB would have to step in to take over production and distribution of most of their teams. Diamond owns 18 networks under the Bally banner, 11 in Major League Baseball, 15 in the NBA, and 11 in the NHL. The interesting part of this is that Major League Baseball owns their streaming rights for the most part. There are 5 teams that they allow Bally to stream games for, but they want their streaming rights, and they said last week they weren't interested in a Bally Amazon deal. I would assume because they don't want Amazon to have their streaming rights. They want them for themselves. Nothing, by the way, is noted in here about Major League Baseball agreeing with this, and it would have to be approved by the Department of Justice, I believe, to allow this takeover to take place. But a really interesting move in that Amazon, with trillions of dollars, is ready to help out Diamond Sports.
It is. I think it's a little bit confusing and at first, because if you remember, it was just last week that we were talking about that Amazon approached Major League Baseball with a deal for $150 million, and that was something that Major League Baseball rejected. So then you're trying to figure out, what does this mean that Amazon is trying to get involved? And I think that was an important clarification that you said, Randy, is that the Cardinals, if everybody's worried about the Cardinals in this situation, they own their streaming rights. not the Diamond Sports Group.
MLB does.
Yes.
The Cardinals have no control themselves.
And that's the thing. If you're worried about that, it is Major League Baseball that owns their own rights. Yeah. But is this creating a situation where Amazon is kind of trying to force themselves into this conversation of sports in general and possibly with Major League Baseball?
The number one thing is getting accessibility for everybody, and I don't think we know the answer to that. Would you agree as you read that out, Randy? I mean, they have to be able to access the games no matter where you're at. If you're in the home market, you have to be able to access the games. And in the case of the Cardinals, when you're talking about the region, it's not just St. Louis, but the region and the surrounding states. You could be in a particular county and not pick up the Cardinals, and you're a huge Cardinal fan. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest problem, is that you have to be able to get it as a consumer wherever you may be. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story.
Right. Now, this is important. Customers will be able to access their local team's content according to what they're saying, on Prime Video channels where Diamond has rights. So that's here in St. Louis. Let's just use that as an example. Pricing and availability will be announced at a later date. Regional sports content will remain available on cable and satellite providers. So this Cardinals contract that has something like 8 years left, I would assume will remain on DirecTV and on Spectrum for as long as the contract goes. I just am intrigued to find out what Major League Baseball's reaction to this is going to be.
If they haven't commented yet, I'm assuming they're taking it all in, right?
Yeah.
And just saying, okay, now, just like all of us, they're like, okay, now what does this mean? And the other part of this, too, is what does it mean for MLB.com, right? I mean, that's part of it, too, is for instance, I am a great example of that. I have the MLB baseball package. I love it, but there are times I can't get certain games when I'm in certain areas of that particular team. And it needs to be accessible whenever I get a chance to watch that home team, to be able to take in what they provide. I could get it later. I just couldn't get it live, and that was a problem.
Yeah. Now, this might be a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Does this push the Cardinals into more of where they're creating that network? I know that they have been discussing that, and that was a topic of discussion with the winter warm-ups. Does this push them more in that direction of creating their own network?
I don't think so, because they still have 8 or 9 years left on their contract with Bally. And as long as Bally is around, they have to adhere to that contract. As long as Bally keeps paying the rights fees, which this will allow them to do, they'll remain a Bally property until the end of that contract.
Do you think that they still are going to be pursuing that avenue, though? Because eventually you do have to have all of those different things in line with where everything is going.
They have learned a lot over the last couple of years because they're preparing, and Major League Baseball is preparing for this. And my guess would be that once the contracts with Bally run out, regardless of the success they have with Amazon, my guess is that MLB will ultimately take everything in-house themselves.
Yeah,
and
that
run
makes
it themselves.
sense.
And I would guess if you wanted to look at an MLB model for where they're headed, I would think it'll be kind of a hybrid, but at its core, I think it'll be like the MLS deal on Apple.
Is this a way then to have more parity in what you pay in terms of your payroll and what comes into every organization? How does that change as you move forward, too?
Well, that's the thing. Are the Yankees going to want to give up?
Exactly.
And the Dodgers going to want to give up their TV revenue so that Major League Baseball can be under one umbrella? It never has been under one umbrella. So that's a great question. And they don't have league think in baseball like they do in football. In football, all of the national television revenue is split between the owners. Baseball, especially because of George Steinbrenner, has never been amenable to that.
And people wonder, like, how are the Dodgers able to do this? Well, their TV contract is $7.5 billion. Guggenheim manages over $300 billion in assets. So they can afford to do this, and other teams aren't on par with that.
Well, they're willing to roll the dice, not really roll the dice, but they're willing to work hard for it because they go out and sell it themselves. They with Spectrum, own their own network, and the Dodgers salespeople are able to go out to, let's think of a big business. Let's just say Bank of America. Dodgers walk into Bank of America and say, okay, I've got signage at Dodger Stadium where we draw 45,000 every single night. I've got radio that everybody listens to if they're in their car, and I've got TV. I can sell all of these entities to you, and it's one big package. In Bank of America, I can give it to you for $2.5 million a year. And Bank of America says, well, that's a lot of different avenues that I've got my name. I'm at Dodger Stadium. I'm on the radio. I'm on TV. That is how the Dodgers are making so much money. And That's one thing I think the Cardinals could do really well, even with the loss of not all of our, but so many of our Fortune 500 headquarters. I think in this market, with what the Cardinals are, I think the Cardinals would do really well to sell that way.
One of the interesting things about the Dodgers TV deal, as great as it looks like on paper with $7.5 billion in rights fees, the penetration of that in getting into homes is awful. It's as bad as anybody's.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the funny point of it. Not funny, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of the ironic point of what we're talking about.
And they're asking for a ton of money. And is it they aren't on DirecTV? Because it's partially owned by Spectrum.
Correct.
And I think it's because the Spectrum wants to charge outrageous costs. And I don't know if they ever did settle it and get on.
I don't think they have.
TVs in L.A.
What are your thoughts on Amazon Prime getting more involved in the sports side of the business? And by the way, they already carry some of the Yankees games and Nets games, which are produced by the YES Network. What are your thoughts on Amazon Prime getting more involved in the sports world?
They can do pretty much what they want.
Yeah,
they can.
They've got enough money to do what they want.
Who doesn't? Anybody that doesn't have Amazon Prime? Anybody done?
I didn't want to cave in, but man, it is so nice just getting your packages as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that doesn't have Amazon Prime.
No. You guys go to malls anymore?
No.
Well,
I now and then, but usually no.
Just to get a little exercise in, Randy, just to walk the mall.
Walking.
Are you one of the people who is like
power walking?
Power walking around?
So it'll be interesting, and I'm interested to hear, and we'll talk to Greg Amsinger tomorrow morning about this. But I'm interested to hear what Major League Baseball's reaction is going to be, because I don't think that I don't think that they're going to be completely thrilled, because I think MLB wants to own and have control over their product. Maybe they shouldn't have sold BAM.
I think they want control, but I think they also want money. And this can be a headache, too. You know, trying to control your own rights. Yep. If you have a guaranteed check coming in, a little bit easier to deal with that as opposed to trying to go out and handle this all in-house.
And I'm guessing that the Amazon check won't bounce.
No, it won't. You'll be fine.
They have plenty of funds. They have plenty of funds there.
Coming up, Rocc and Roll here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. It's 21 degrees outside. It's still cold in St. Louis. If it's cold inside your house, you need to get in touch with my friends at Hoffman Brothers because they're going to make sure that your house is nice and toasty. They're going to make sure that your furnace is in great shape. Just give them a call, 314-664-3011, or go to HoffmanBros.com, and that's with two Fs, HOFFMANN, HoffmanBros.com, and set up an appointment so they'll come out to your house, take a look at your furnace, make sure that your furnace is in good shape for the entire winter. They'll clean it out. They'll put a new filter in, and they will make sure that your house is warm. And if you have a two-story and the top floor isn't getting as hot, they'll check that out too and find ways to make sure that both floors of your home are comfortable. Hoffman Brothers is all about your comfort. And if you need to have them out to your home because it's only 21 degrees and you're cold in it, well, make sure you get in touch with them. Again, 314-664-3011, or make an appointment online at HoffmanBros.com. Hoffman Brothers is your Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning dealer. They do great work. They do it for the Carricker family, and they'll do it for you at Hoffman Brothers.
And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Time for Rock and Roll here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, as we know from earlier in this week, Jason Kelce had apparently announced his retirement when he got up in front of the Eagles in the postgame after their loss to the Buccaneers. Well, there was a new Heights episode, that is the podcast that Travis and Jason Kelce do together, that was released about 19 hours ago or so. And here was Jason's words from himself about his supposed retirement.
You know, Nick kind of gave me an opportunity to talk. I didn't announce what I was doing on purpose, despite, I guess, what's been leaked to the media. I just don't think you're in a position after a game like that to really make that decision. I just don't. There's too much emotion in the moment to really fully grasp that decision. I'm not trying to be dramatic and continue to draw this thing out. I'm really not. It's just something that I think, when it's time to officially announce, what's happening in the future, it'll be done in a way that's, definitive and pays respect to a lot of people and individuals that have meant a lot to me and has led to the career I've had.
Yeah.
But I did address the team and pretty much said the same thing that I just said to you, which is, I got belief in every single one of you guys. Cherish the moment you have in this league. A lot of guys like, if that is your last game, I feel sorry for you. And I'm like, don't feel sorry for me, motherfucker. I had a
Don't feel sorry for me.
It's pretty to the point.
Yeah, brother.
I just want to play it out there because if you listen intently and if you watch the video, you can see that Jason Kelce goes from joking around to almost immediately breaking down. You hear Travis, hell yeah, brother, and you can hear the sniffling starting from Travis Kelce. I mean Jason Kelce, excuse me, because he was about to start breaking down live on the pod, and I'm pretty sure he did if you watch the extended version.
Wow.
What's the best way to go out? Just to announce your retirement, move on, or to address the team after a tough loss and your season's over? People pretty much knew that was it. Should you hold a press conference? I don't know.
If you are somebody that has some flair, I think having a going away press conference is cool. I think
with you.
I do. Yeah.
Steve Young had a fabulous going away press conference. I wish I could find it on YouTube, but it was so cool. I'll miss the smell of walking out of that tunnel into Candlestick Park. Yeah, I'll miss the smell of that pee. You know, it was pretty funny. It was great. And just, you know, he described everything that he loved about football and what he would miss. I think that's the way to go. Some guys aren't really good with going away press conferences.
Yeah.
And for some people, like Chris Carpenter, never has uttered the word retirement. Even when he had the press conference, he would never use the word retirement. So some of them are pretty memorable.
Jason Kelce, it makes a lot of sense, I think, to do the press conference. Of course, he'll address his teammates probably privately first. I am confused. So he's not retiring. Is basically what he's saying. He is retiring. Did we just get Tom Brady? Is that what just happened there?
I think a lot of people are running at this as players maybe not liking that the guys like Schefter break the news for them, and they're trying to. And he's trying to say, you know, and the post from New Heights when they posted this clip was, when you want to hear from the big man, you hear from the big man himself. And so they're essentially, I think he's probably going to retire, but I think his point is that he's a little perturbed that it got out that way, and it wasn't official, that he didn't even say in the room, I'm retiring. It was everyone took his messaging as that being his message, and then it gets to Schefter, gets reported, and then you hear his kind of jab, like not really what the media is saying right now. Like you're saying, I mean, Brady risked his marriage just to stick it in Schefter's craw a little bit, and so I think there's maybe some players getting a little sick of it.
I do agree with that. I think that it should be the player that is saying that, especially if you were told something. I'm not sure the full story behind what happened going back with Adam Schefter and Tom Brady, but it should be the player who is announcing their retirement, not the reporter. Unless they told the reporter, yeah, go ahead and run with it, but if you're trying to get ahead and be first to the story, I never think that that's okay.
Makes me laugh when I think about Big Mac and the way that he retired. It wasn't on Twitter, wasn't on Facebook. It was with a fax machine.
To Rich Eisen at ESPN.
Yes.
I love that.
Of all people, to Rich Eisen. Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right.
How did that happen?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I think it's the going away press conference is pretty cool. I also think sometimes walking away, it adds intrigue to it. You walked away and just the person wanted to walk away, and it was time for them to move on in their lives, and I'm okay with that too.
Well,
a little
Barry
Irish
Sanders, right?
exit.
No,
Yes.
We've actually got a documentary about the way Barry Sanders walked away, and nobody ever knew why.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm cool with that. That's what I want to do. I just want to, I'll tell you guys on a Friday, and this is it, guys.
I don't even expect that. It's a Monday, and you don't show up.
That might happen too.
Let's not do
No,
that.
I wouldn't do that to you guys. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, not soon. Please don't do that. Don't Irish exit us, please.
You got many years left, Randy.
Oh, yeah.
In this great business.
Right, yeah.
Do you want many years, or is that you just saying I'm not going to have many years?
I just, you never know how many years you have.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're all day to day.
Oh,
yes, we are.
This is taking a turn. Let's get it back on track. Anyways, Jason Kelce.
Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic went shot for shot last night as the 76ers and the Nuggets had an incredible one. Now I know what it feels like to be 80 because I got to watch two 7-footers battle out in an NBA game.
There you go.
That's what everyone's always like. You guys never understand what it was like when we used to have 7-footers because that's just a thing that doesn't exist in the NBA anymore. Also, the Suns came back, had a 22-point comeback in the fourth quarter. KD, Beal, and Booker, and they get that figured out. I don't care what the record is. That's going to be dangerous this year. And watch it because it's fun, and the St. Louis kid's killing it.
It's a hot take right there.
It's not really.
It's a hot take.
It's KD, Beal, and Booker. Is them being good really a hot take?
It's a hot take.
It's not a hot take
Hot
at all.
NBA
It's
take.
the most boring. It's the most basic NBA take right now. The Suns are better than their record. That's the most boring one I can make right now.
What's everybody going to do with their happy hump day?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I'm going to have Chick-fil-A. For some reason, I'm craving Chick-fil-A right now.
I went over to the Chick-fil-A in De Pere the other day. My buddy Dave Bruce is the owner over there. They are the nicest people in the world. Over at
there's a new one opening up here on Olive too,
and the one at Maryland Heights at Dorset
Don't tell me
McKelvey is
that,
open now,
Dan.
too.
Yep, right down the street, Brooke. You're going to be at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I love Chick-fil-A.
We got to find out when that opens because apparently there's a deal. Like if you're the first 100 people in line, you camp out, you get free Chick-fil-A for a year.
I'll be the first person in that line. You guys will just see me camping out right in front
You
of
got
it.
to find out when.
Maybe we need to do a remote.
That's a good idea.
We'll be the first ones in line.
I know people. I know people that can help us out.
That would be perfect.
Do I do the cow suit again to throw it back to when I was younger? Dan, I used to work at Chick-fil-A when I was a young girl. That was actually my first job. And at the one I worked at in particular, you had to do every single job so that you understood. And I had to do the cow suit a couple of times.
That's okay. I dressed up as Fredbird one time.
Really?
Yeah. We were on a caravan, and I said, you know what? I want to be Fredbird tonight. And I turned into Fredbird.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a lot hotter and harder.
Really hot.
It gets hot in there so quickly. You're like, oh, man.
I don't know how the Fredbirds do it down at Busch Stadium. It is blistering hot. They're in that suit, and it is brutal.
Fredbirds?
There's multiple.
What?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What are you telling me? Next, there's multiple Santas. That's how he covers the globe. What are you just killing dreams over here?
Well, Santa's real.
Oh, Fredbird's not real?
Fredbird,
he bit my head off.
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
What's wrong with you, Randy?
Randy's world is crushed right now.
Remember, I said
I just don't know about this.
Fred Birds because there was Mrs. Fred Bird at one point, too.
Oh, yeah. I remember she came into the booth with you guys, right?
Yeah.
With you and Timmy McCarver?
I believe so. Yeah.
I remember that. That was funny.
Funny.
Okay. Well, I know what I'm going to do with my hump day.
We didn't
figure out
you.
the other Fredbirds?
I'm gonna lay down and try to process it.
Yeah.
Come to grips with the reality there. Birds.
We got T-Mac and Ajax coming up with a balloon party coming up after our program. And then you've got BK and Ferrario featuring Tanner Hendrickson from 11 to 2. And then from 2 to 6, you've got the Fast Lane without Jamie Rivers. So it'll be Anthony Stalter and former member of the opening drive, Kerry Davis.
There you go.
Yes.
But he's still a member of 101 ESPN.
And
Thank goodness.
Still
Super
part
Bowl
of our
champ.
hearts.
Yeah.
They had great football talk. I was riveting. It was riveting. I'm being serious. It was awesome yesterday with he and Anthony. Loved it.
Oh, it's great stuff. Thank you to our producer and audio and video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Cool. Just yes. It was.
Of course.
It wasn't glorious.
Lots of fun. It was glorious.
Okay. Good.
I'm also processing this Fred Bird's information.
I'm with you.
So
it's difficult.
It's a shocking ending.
Danny, good to see you.
Always great to be with you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great hump day, St. Louis.
That's right.